Let's go! Who's up next?
To the Xbox Empire podcast, part of the Play Some Video Games network of podcasts. They're dancing. The boys are dancing. I'm Elaine. Donnie is here, and we have Sean Capri here from the Xbox Drive. He's dancing.
Sean Capri!
Oh, did I say his name wrong?
I like it. Capri like the wrong way to say it. Not like the pants.
What kind of pants works that way?
Mm-hmm. There's a select people who call me Capri. It's like they really over enunciate. I think it like maybe in Italy that's actually how they say it.
Is that what you need?
It's like some weird like backwards enunciation, like emphasis on the syllables.
It seems too easy that way, so it must be wrong. Should have asked you first. Oh well.
That's right.
He does look fancy. He has a fancy look,
He
right?
does look kind of fancy. It's the
You're
glasses.
like, obviously can't be
hair.
Capri.
My drama teacher in high school used to say that it was all about the eyebrows. Like they're just the eyebrows and the teeth. I used to have like a giant space in between these teeth, so I like I look like a cartoon character, basically, is what this boils down
I'm so
to.
happy to hear this story right now.
Yeah.
This makes me so happy.
I'm such a huge fan. I can't believe I'm here. Like Donnie, like we go way back, but like this is our first chance to chat, Elaine, and
I'm excited.
am so stoked.
Excited.
Donnie picked the absolute best person for this show. You guys are my favorite freaking Xbox podcast on the internet. You guys are amazing. So I feel really just fortunate to be here. Like this is just, and Donnie's freaking got his rum and coke. Like this is
I just have a big
style,
mug of tea because I'm boring. Look at that.
That's what we do.
I haven't even slept in about 40 hours. So yeah, let's.
I hope everybody liked the new
thank God we're
intro.
recording this.
I hope they
so
like
good.
the new overlay.
Everything's all sexy right now.
Yeah, did the stuff. Xbox sexy.
Yeah, he did things and I mispronounced people's last names. Look, this is about how this works for us, actually. This is how this is. I wasn't expecting you to come on here and give so much love, though, Sean. Thank you. That feels so nice.
How can I can't help it. I can't. I'm just saying what I and a lot of other people are thinking.
I was told
you guys
last
just,
night
nailed it.
by a certain Nintendo enthusiastic female that I may talk to on somewhat of a regular basis that she doesn't even like Xbox and yet watches the Empire because Elaine is that awesome. She was like, sorry, not you.
I gotta go. Like, this is my high note. This is my George Costanza. It's too good now.
I made that reference today. That's
to my face. Said it to my face.
I'm out.
Really? I love that she said it to your face.
Yeah, it wasn't even like a
you.
text or
Not
an instant. No DM. Just like, you know,
Her.
she's great.
I love
You're
her.
not, but
Yeah.
Look, this is going to devolve into nonsense super quickly.
Oh, that
and we
was
have
always
Sean
going to
here to
happen.
talk about hot
Yeah.
new hardware, which I'm excited about. But before we do that, let me give our Patreon producers a quick shout out because I love them and everybody who listens to the show. And also Sean.
I listen.
Capri.
I know. Capri. All right, Patreon producers. Edwin Callow, Barry Cathcart, Josh Bonesaw Bourbon, Chris McElfrish, Devin Tyus, Kyle Heyman, Paul Calicote, Michael Masick, The Eggshen, Zach Bradshaw, Nick Fallhaber, Rude Days 93, Rob Emanuel, Ben Moxham, and Grouchy Surge.
He's
Now,
great.
Every time.
It's so good. How did I never think of this?
There's so many R's. How
There
do you
are
not
so
feel
many
like
Rs.
you have to do that? You know what I mean?
It's so great. Well, okay, so I'm Capri and Josh is Bourbon. Now, is that how this goes? Has
And
anybody called this out for you?
She
or not?
has like
Doing
this.
my best.
She has this dialect. It's so proper, right? She's like Chris McElfrish. I'm like McElfrish.
I just want to keep people's names right so hard that I end up screwing them up anyway. I add extra syllables that don't need to be there.
I joke because I love.
Oh, damn it. So there's so much to talk about, but Sean, you've got one of these here Xboxing. You've like got one.
I got one. I could sit on it. I could
Don't
hold it.
do
I could kiss it.
Don't.
I could
Could
put it
you?
on the shelf. I
Do you think
could.
it would support your weight if you sat on it? There's
I
the
don't
first
think
one.
I think it could actually. Honestly, the thing is
wanna know,
rock
like-
solid.
It's dense, right?
That's a
I
big
think
bowl.
what you could do, you know, like those like training blocks. If you had two of them, you could do like handstands on them, or you could kind of like
Wow.
do like the
Yeah,
yoga
yeah.
the Jean-Claude Van Damme, like the dips, and then you put your feet straight out and stuff.
Can someone
I really think you
please-
could.
Someone needs to do that Photoshop of the split, the Jean-Claude Van Damme split
Like,
onto
I know the fridge
vertically
joke.
placed.
The fridge joke was super easy. Like, yes, definitely a fridge, but like, how are we not making these things into like Lego pieces? Like
They look like
multiple.
cinder blocks.
How do they not snap into place?
Yeah, that's true.
So versatile.
When you said that, I envisioned like a table that had like Series X's for legs as like mounts.
Well, then it wouldn't vent properly, Donnie. What are you even doing? Just
yes,
hold
please.
the table.
Or stools. You could have just make them a little taller, and then you have stools.
Yeah, that works.
You could sit on the underside of the controller.
What is
that
this?
That would actually
Prime?
work for your butt.
We could do this for days.
We really
we could actually probably do this for days. I just had to know if you thought that you could stand on that thing and it wouldn't crumble beneath you.
Buckle up, guys. When Donnie and I get together, it's like a 17-hour show. Like there's no rules.
That's true.
I'm on no sleep, and
so I needed a moderator.
I'm doing this.
It's debate season. We've had all these debates and everything. I'm kind
of grown up. Am I the grown up?
You're the grown up.
Yeah. That's weird. If people who like know me will be like, Elaine's the grown up, you have a problem. Like
that's where this show is. That's the Empire path forward.
Yep.
So I think we have lots of questions about this box. Donnie, you have lots of questions about this box. And many of them are my questions about this box. So why don't you start jumping in on your questions and we'll just devolve into nonsense along.
Okay. First, I wanted to ask Sean.
Hi.
How cool is it that you got to review the box early, man?
It's so cool. It's actually amazing. Like, it is surreal. Like, and it's weird because like I booked vacation off for like the day. You don't count on this sort of thing happening, right?
Of course.
Right.
I was very lucky back when the One X came out. Xbox Canada had sent that out, and I'm glad that like I kind of have that experience at this point because this is actually very similar in terms of like a lot of the rollout and the improvements. And we'll get into this a lot, but it feels very similar in the best way possible, that it's like an extension of the things that you already know. But I remember when I first got my hands on the One X and I had never done anything to that degree at that point, I was like, oh no, I don't know that I would want to recommend this. Like I was sick to my stomach because the games weren't optimized yet. And it didn't really, like, I wasn't sure like what the case for this thing was, like what the, like why you would want to buy it. I didn't understand any of that. And I kind of went through the same thing with this one as well. So like I'm putting it through its paces, and it's like there's like 3 games that I'm playing here, right? Yeah. And so you start to see like through I think my content and basically anything else out there, there's a limited number of things that you end up talking about. You don't end up talking about like the game that's really like melting your face off. You talk about load times, you talk about all the other things about it that like is fine, but I don't know. It's a weird thing, and so that's
even
why,
with reviews like Watch Dogs and Valhalla are still not live yet, right?
Right. Well, Watch Dogs has been a weird thing. I'm not sure exactly what's been allowed to talk about, but like Watch Dogs has been available and then not available and available and not available on Series X. Yeah. It's actually been on there. So I've played a lot of it on the Series X, and then suddenly had like some weird icon that says not compatible. They must have, I think maybe when they were patching the One X issue that was happening. So it's been kind of like back and forth on that front. And then, there's some games that they were saying that like Forza Horizon was supposed to be optimized a long time ago, and it kind of just happened a few days ago. So it puts everybody who's reviewing it in kind of a weird spot. And I'm really glad that I would say for the most part, at least the people that I'm following, everybody's very honest about it. Like nobody's trying to be like, well, like it's new and exciting, so I'm going to like go out of my way, I guess, to tell a story that this thing is amazing. Everybody's been pretty clear that it's like, I mean, they're games from last gen, and there's a few of them that look amazing. Like Gears, I'll just say this. Like Gears is unbelievable.
I can't wait.
Like 120 frames in multiplayer. It feels like, I was going to say it feels like cheating, but it feels just like the way it should. It doesn't feel like you're fighting or waiting for something to happen anymore. That Gears kind of like slog that you kind of think is just built into like just how bulky everybody is. Played 120 frames and it's so smooth. And it's an old game, but it's a new experience, man, for sure.
That's part of my like trepidation with next week. It's like, man, there are already so many video games that I want to play, and now when I read reviews and hear those kinds of things, like, well, now I want to put that game back in. I finished that game, but the list then gets super long, and it's like, dude, I am going to be drowning in stuff on this box that I just want to see for a little bit till forever. So,
and that's a position a lot of people are going to find themselves in. When you don't have it, it's easy to go, there's only X number of games, and that's not satisfying to me. And you get it in your house and you're like, well, crap, I've got the one game I need. And that's probably where a lot of people are going to find themselves. But it's been, and people will experience this too as the weeks goes on after launch. Like, it's so exciting to just have your library. Like, and Donnie's got all his terabytes of games that he's got on there. Slowly but surely, you're going to see some of them like get chosen. right? You've got like they're all down below. There's like this upper echelon at the top that says optimized for Series X or S, and it's like a couple games are up there. Same thing as the One X, exactly the same idea. So you can do the
same thing as the One X, where you can like filter by like only show me stuff that's optimized for this.
The rest aren't worthy of your time.
That's
you only play the games that like float to the top.
As actually my first question. I asked you this before. I wanted to know about managing games. If you're one of the folks bringing over an external and you plug it in and you go to play a game, does it just run off the external until you move it to the internal? Or when you go to play it, does it go like, hey, if you move it to the internal, we'll patch it with this cool new thing?
That would be really great. But no, it didn't do that. And there was a couple times. Actually, I had, although this one wasn't optimized, I don't think. It's strange because there's this official optimizations that happen, but also just your load times are going to be so much faster just having on the internal.
Sure.
So I actually did like a load time test for Final Fantasy 15, and it was kind of like, well, it's not much better. And then I realized afterwards that I hadn't moved. I was still playing it from. And
that's been external. Something I've been thinking about this whole time. I was like, I'm wondering how much of that's going to happen with people, right? Because like you could already have Gears 5 on your external, and you plug it into your Series X, and you press play, and it starts playing, and you're like, I'm playing the newest version, but you're not.
Yeah.
Right, and that was part of the review that I'm like, I'm not sure exactly how to articulate this. I need like lights shining that goes like, bing, 4K is on, bing, 120 hertz is on, bing, HDR, like all those things. I need it to
confirmation
be that clear. And with my home theater receiver, I love it because when it has like the proper surround sound playing, it has like a Dolby Digital logo. It's just like, you got the right one, you did it right, And I would kind of like that. Like the Series X, even more than the One X, I think it requires, you need to know what's going on. Like
maybe if you press like the Xbox menu and the menu popped up, maybe they could hide like a little details thing on the menu.
Absolutely.
My TV even does a pretty good job. Like when it switches to an HDR enabled input,
that was exactly the reference I made.
Yeah,
really
so
at least I know that. But like with things like, I don't know, like it feels kind of embarrassing to say because like we're reviewing the thing and like how do you get a chance to review it if you can't tell 1,000% that you're looking at 120 frames per second? But like I think that's difficult to do. I think that if you it's kind of like if you put 3 red cups and you fill them with random beers and you go like, which one of these is, you guys don't even like, which one's Miller Lite, right? Like, and which one's Bud Light? I'm trying to think of American beers. And they all taste the same. Like they're all like they're very, very close. And it's not until you tried it. Exactly.
It's the soda test. Pepsi, Coke, and RC Cola is actually an easier example for probably most folks, right? Like out of the can for most people, it's very difficult to tell. And I think out of the box for most people, the difference between 60 and 120 frames, depending on where you sit from the TV and how used to that type of output you are, is difficult to tell. Like for me, I do struggle, and I sit in front of a G-Sync monitor when I play on the computer, so that jump is obvious.
Yeah, and it's going to be different for everybody because like 30 to 60 to me is totally obvious at this point.
I agree.
There's no
30
fooling me.
Plus, it's going to depend on your TV and game mode,
also,
and there's
exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors here.
Is where I struggle because it's difficult to see that difference. HDR, I think, is obvious though.
No 120 in single player for Gears, right?
That's right. It's just versus, which is always strange to me that like the multiplayer actually runs faster. I don't know why in my head that it
makes because they tone down the visuals and they're not loading in such big maps and stuff like that. It's just a much smaller.
Yeah,
or they don't want to match the cutscenes. They don't want to re-render and try to match because that's very obvious. When you look at like 60 and you get a cutscenes in 30, that's incredibly like that jump. And I think with 120 and 60, that's where it would be obvious. I bet you they just don't want to re-render them or they can't.
Doesn't Ori have 120? You can play
not yet. So that is coming. And so like there was 2 games in particular. There was Gears 5 with Versus that had 120, and then Dirt 5 has 120 hertz mode. And like, but Dirt 5 chugs a little bit. Like it definitely didn't win me over in terms of like
that
a
little
racer.
That little skippy framey thing. Yeah.
Especially at the start of the races. And I know like Digital Foundry covers this in like to the nth degree and they're phenomenal about it. But like I don't need, like in that case, I don't need the blinking light or the graph to show me that like something is up here.
Sure. And
I just felt like that wasn't the one to showcase 120 hertz. And to be honest, like I'm not even sure if it said if you put it to 120 hertz, I wouldn't believe that it's there. Like even if it is, I see it not performing well in other instances. I just see that the drops in the 60 frames per second mode, that's just not really there. So that's kind of where all of that kind of comes from, is there's just so much variance. You can set it to a target. If the target is 4K, like there might be dynamic resolution or whatever it is. And it happens on every single front, whatever you're trying to optimize. It's either going to hit it and it's going to stay locked there, or it's going to bounce around.
Right.
And I love on Windows, I love the game bar.
Sure.
Like I know Donnie kind of like you have the capability of doing more gaming on your computer than I think that you do, but like game bar is awesome.
Yep.
It's great.
Game bar is great.
I used it
that
to track
frequently.
frames when I was playing Golftopia. So I could see
Right.
all 27 frames that I was getting in Golftopia.
It does give you a lot of information if you care
That's
about
the extent of my
information.
PC gaming.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Can't with you. I can't with you. I love that golf games and the frames they're in is you're like, this is where I
Somebody
end
asked.
PC
They were like, how many frames are you getting on that? Would you
just
encourage people to play Dirt 5 over Forza?
No.
What if they've already played Forza?
I think play Forza again.
Just play it
Play more
again?
Forza. I don't
I'm
understand this conversation.
No, I don't mean to be like, I think like Phil said, like, I don't mean to be flip about it, but like Forza, to me, it's not even close. And like I was spending a lot of time with Dirt 5 and just got like, I wanted to give it a chance. I wasn't really like too impressed with like the overall visuals, but I'm like 120 frames per second sounds amazing. Like, let's try that out. And it's fine. It's a totally capable racing game. But then Forza Horizon 4 was chosen and it lifted up to that top echelon, that top group. And I kind of joke about it in the review in progress. And I was like, I legit, like I was supposed to be working. And I'm like, I got to check this out. Like it's finally here. It's like Christmas. And this is what I was alluding to earlier. This is going to happen for everybody as weeks go on and your game becomes chosen. And it's like this moment of like, stop everything, cancel all my plans. I got to try this out because it's worth it. From everything that I've seen go from not optimized to optimized, it's like, it is ridiculous. It is so noticeable, especially if you have the TV for it. But like Forza Horizon 4, when it became optimized, like rock solid at 60 frames per second, or 55, whatever they've chosen.
On that
it's
fancy new
there.
TV too.
Oh my god! And it's so again, like they told me that Forza Horizon was optimized. Like from the moment that we got it, it's like that one should be working. And so I fired it up. I'm like, am I like I don't know what I should be believing because I'm seeing what I think is 30 frames, but I'm being told it's not. And then once it jumped up, I'm like, okay, at least I can tell the difference between 30 and 60. That was kind of my test. And it's just so smooth. That game it's masterclass, man. Like I absolutely love it. And I spend most of my time when I revisited Forza Horizon 4 in Legoland because that's awesome. I drive around with my Ferrari and stuff. It's so good. So yeah, man, it's a really good example. I think the first party games, I think Xbox Game Studio games are going to be really, really interesting to look out for as they make this leap up to optimized for Series X.
Cool. I wanted to ask you about Quick Resume.
I too want to know about Quick Resume.
I've heard several outlets today in the preview cycle that said that it's having some issues, and it's probably getting a day one patch, probably getting a lengthy day one patch on this. I mean, and you already mentioned it kind of with the games and stuff. There are games that are out, they're not even playable in even the people that have reviews, and we're just like 5 days out from the actual consoles. So I mean, it's safe to say, and I feel like this is just stating the obvious, but both consoles are coming in hot. From the year that we've had to everything we've had, like they are coming in hot. It's going to be a rocky few weeks, and that's always the case with consoles, always. But I feel like this time, maybe more than you normally would expect, some things probably not working the way they 100% thought they would be a month ago.
It is weird because it's been, I mean, I'm not sure what exactly anybody was supposed to like, when you talk about previews, you don't go like, it's kind of not working. I guess like there's a certain time for that message to come out. And I guess now is that time that, I like you and I've talked about this before, like when we're like, what's the first game we're going to play? It's like Quick Resume. That's the first game.
That's the first game.
We're going to like load this thing up and do a bunch of that stuff. And I'm like, I have high like now that it's a thing, now that I know what it is, like I kind of have high expectations for it. Like I'm kind of that entitled gamer that went from like, I don't know what this is. I don't know that I need it to, I have 3 very specific things I need out of Quick Resume and I don't have those things.
Sure.
So I would say that just, it's a bonus feature right now. I don't know that I would like count on it. Like, don't quit your game and go, I'll come back. Quick Resume will save me. It's kind of like, it's kind of like, you know, when you have like a quick save in a game, but then you'll have like your real save.
Sure.
Yep.
I actually still don't really understand like what the difference is, but like, if I want to be sure, I'm going to really save that thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same idea. Like if you don't want to get kicked out of the game, then like don't leave it is kind of the idea, or find your actual save spot. And then
so
go
how
back
does
that
it
way.
work? Like when you So you go to like, you hit the Xbox button to go back to your menu. Does it ask you like, hey, do you want to put this in quick resume or anything?
No, and that's one of the things that I would love just a little bit more control and management over it without like, I'm such a PC kind of player that I would want that. And I'm not sure that everybody would want that, but definitely some sort of like acknowledgement that like, I don't know, almost like a save state that like some sort of animation, like, okay, it's tucked in here, and here's all your other games that are currently in quick resume. It could be part of your menu.
On our dashboard that we have now, you usually have the big square of the game that you're playing. You usually have like these 5 squares off to the right of it. I would always imagine that 3 or 4 of those squares would be dedicated to it.
I agree.
And then like you can see
there
the
is
ones
no
that
indication.
There's none.
No, none. There's no like
that's
icon
a huge
on
problem I have. Like, and I might be being picky, but I don't think I think we're kind of in line with
that
this.
sucks.
I would love.
So
Yeah,
like,
I would
not
love
only do
something.
so quick resume just runs automatically. If it runs, you don't get told if it's running, and you have to remember which one it is if you want to try to jump back into it.
The only time that you'll know it is when you fire up a game, and then it's kind of like a guessing game. Like, am I going to get a start? Like, am I going to boot this up? Or am I going to jump into the game?
quick resume
gotcha.
screen?
Yeah, you'll get the little tag at the top.
I would
That's the
really
only
like.
time.
I would like a QR on the tile that just says it's in there. You don't even have to make it fancy. Just let me know that it lives in quick
Or if you
resume
just
right now.
I was thinking, sorry, I geeky over UI design. I like overlays and stuff.
I'm very
Shocked.
straightforward.
I was even thinking like, I was talking about, you've got the square that you've got the tile that you're playing, and then you usually have like a couple tiles you're playing. What if they just even highlighted all of those tiles in the same color?
Totally.
Just a little glowing edge to let you know, just a little marker, very minimal. Like, cause I do think, I'm not opposed to that at all.
I think we'll get there, honestly. Just the fact that it's not functioning as it should right now tells me that like that's kind of like the start. And then maybe you have some of these other features that we're talking about. Like,
the point that I was going to make for Elaine is that I'm starting to get a little, I wouldn't say concerned, but I'm starting to get a little annoyed that all of my tiles have a bunch of letters all over them.
That's fair.
There's there's smart delivery, there's Series X enhanced. It's just like, how many more things you put? There's a Game Pass icon.
I'm like the quintessential engineer. I want you to deliver me the information in the most efficient way possible.
You're not even going to be able to read the game by the time it's done.
I don't care. I know what that logo looks like. Just tell me. Do you know what I mean? What about quick resume in like live network service games?
Yeah, they just straight up don't work. No, they just straight up don't even work.
That makes sense. I just was curious. I just wanted to hear it confirmed.
And I don't play like a huge amount of them, but I'm going to be jumping back into Destiny pretty quickly here.
That's
like on launch day, there's the stuff coming out, and then there's the enhancements coming out a little bit after that. But even for a game, and I'll have to test that a little bit more, but I think it might be close to Call of Duty, where Call of Duty, if you were to just start up the game, you're going to go through like the Activision, the night vision, like and everything. Like you go through all that, then you get the press A, and then you'll choose multiplayer, and then you'll get into the screen that you want to go to. But with Quick Resume, you skip all that other garbage, and what it'll essentially do is try to get you back into that multiplayer menu that you probably left the last time, if you're like me, and it'll go, you were kicked out. You press A, and you just jump back into the multiplayer menu, and like that is it's not totally sexy because you still get you're welcomed with an error message, but like it's still way better than firing up from scratch.
And it's the best that they're kind of going to. There's only so much you can do with live services games. I was asking the question knowing the answer, but I was kind of curious if that's what it did and just gave you the menu. At least it tries. Like Fortnite is one.
One, I don't know. I want to put a caveat in this as well, in that like because it's in such a precarious spot, like I don't know. And this is why it was a review in progress. Like I would love to be able to say definitively, like when you quit No Man's Sky, this is how it's going to behave when you try to fire back up. But like my experience with No Man's Sky was that it just started from scratch every time. Like there was no like you've been kicked out. It just started from scratch.
So it didn't even give you the impression that it was even possible.
This is the thing. Like I don't know if that's just because it's been disabled at this point, where maybe it will get to the point that Call of Duty is at, where it will say you've been kicked out and skip all the hello games and the logos and splashes and stuff.
Yeah. I suspect over the next 6 months, we're going to get so many iterations of this dashboard to sort of like bring some of this stuff together. Like you're right. They're coming in like super hot. They built the dashboard to cross over between the two gens, right? It's pretty much going to be the same between the two. So I'm kind of curious how they play that game when they want to differentiate information, like for Quick Resume on the new ones.
Well, and that's like that's the positive side of like it being like a samey UI, right? That you can kind of, you don't have to build it from scratch. You don't have to test for all like the recreating the things and the functionality that you got from the previous one. You just build on top of that. And going through and putting the video up this morning, I went back and looked at like, what was the UI looking like? Like, you think you remember? Like, you thought like maybe it was like slightly different. It was completely different.
Was wildly different, and it's now so much cleaner. Like,
that's
like
the power of Xbox.
One.
You feel on 360, we had like 5 completely different iterations of the dashboard.
I actually
you really did.
Does it still boot up? Have you played anything backwards compatible 360? Does it still boot up that splash screen for you? Because like that brings me a little bit of joy. And
with HDR, it was the first time I experienced that in HDR. It's like that white is just like, whoa, holy crap!
Does it still
drying my eyeballs?
Nice. Does it still bring up the old 360 menu when you ask it to?
Yeah, like you can still do the.
You can still do the 2 buttons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
nice.
I'm curious.
And it's so funny because it's still so. I don't remember what the blade or whatever is called when you do that, but you go all the way to the right and it says Xbox One X. Visual options, and you can go performance or graphical still. So it still refers to. I'm wondering if they'll ever update that, but that was something that came with the One X.
I enjoy that they've set this whole thing up so they can just move it forward in that way.
And this is the thing that I kind of talk a little bit about in the review as well. Is like I fired up quite a few games actually. I did Red Dead Redemption, the original Red Dead Redemption. I did Mass Effect, the original, BioShock, and quite a few games. And I just wanted to. Like, this is where I'm like, I think this looks better. I think, but I just wanted for it to tell me, like, what exactly it's doing.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure, like, auto HDR is a thing that's just happening across the board.
Yes, I believe you're correct. But...
Some sort of upscaling, but like, some are more than others.
Crackdown looked nuts. Like, the original Crackdown on
it's very crisp in what I've seen,
Yeah.
And that's the types of things, like, I'd like a little bit more categorization or something that tells me, like, where are those games? Because right now I kind of have to go, what did Digital Foundry tell me? Or what, like, I kind of have to, like, look it up on the internet. Sure. And it just seems like such an awesome feature, and it really encourages people to go back and play the games. And, like, it would be good to have it just called out that you can filter or find games
like
on the store.
Like some curation or, like, in the Game Pass app, like, hey, have you checked these out? These are auto HDR.
These are better now.
Yeah.
Or like, let me enable a toggle that lets me get to that information. If you don't, if you think it's overwhelming to your average person, and it might be overwhelming to your average person, lots of people just don't care, right?
Yeah.
Like we're in that 1 to 5% of people who actually care.
Totally.
So let me toggle, and then let me press the Xbox button.
Well, they got those filter buttons in the store and in the Game Pass library, or I mean, your game catalog. There are the drop downs on the top hand right, so they could just easily add that stuff.
Sure. But if I'm playing the game, I'd love to know right now, what's it doing? What resolution is it pushing? Just let me tap the Xbox button and bring a tab up, and let me enable or disable that option. You know what I mean? Because I'm a nerd and I want to see the data.
Totally.
It's just that simple. Like, you know?
Yeah, and if you're going to go this way where I was going to save this, but I think it might be a better place to put this now. If you're going to go this PC way where the focus is so much on the hardware, but the experience is so much the same, and you're going to upgrade, then those types of features need to come along with it, because that's what you're telling people they need to upgrade for.
Yeah,
right? It's not an exclusive game.
It's a good way to put it. That's an excellent way to put it.
And for the people who really care, they really care. And they want to know. Like, you wouldn't spend $1 million extra dollars on a TV just to push this kind of frame rate if you didn't really care,
because,
right?
A week ago on PSXP, I sent in a question where I think it's very safe to say that what PlayStation is trying to do with their console is more ambitious. They've got a lot of new things, right? There's a lot of whole new UI, and there's the whole new games. They have this new stuff, this new controller, and this new triggers, and all this new stuff that they're trying to do. Whereas Xbox is really no frills. And I liked Polygon today, so called it boring. And they said it was in a nice way. He was like, it's boring. He's like, but what they've done is they've made a console that's complete focus is on playing games and playing them well. Yep. And that's what they do. And that's what I've been excited about. And all the things that they're telling us to be excited for, and VRR and mesh shaders, stuff we don't know anything about. It would be nice to to be able to, okay, Xbox, show me.
Show me. I think that part of the thing that makes maybe the Xbox unsexy to some folks is that it's not new and shiny, right? Like the dashboard that you have on your One X right now is pretty much, when you boot this new box up, what you're going to see,
Same
right?
thing.
Now that's not, to some people, that's not sexy or exciting, but
it's faster.
It's faster and
way faster, you guys.
It's so much more compelling to like bring me along through the evolution like that, to bridge it. But they're doing it like they don't care if it's not a new UI. They're bringing you with them, and I think that that's a good thing. To me, I would
argue we already got that moment a couple times on the One X. Like they're just not aligned exactly like with the new console. We will get. I have no doubt that we'll get another iteration of this UI in a year or two or whatever it is. And yet, like the fact that like that much, it's so weird to geek out about this stuff, but it is so snappy. It is so much faster.
I'm very excited because that UI.
I'm here for that.
I am here for that also.
We are
That
here for
UI
that.
has had some trouble over the years.
They
and
finally got it on this one. And that's the thing. Like, you go back to the One X, it's like, good God, hurry up. But like, you guys, when like anybody who's been on the One X is like, this is the one. This one is great.
No, this UI, it took 6 years, but they finally did it.
They got it. There's a couple clips on the review that I was looking back on, and I'm like, people might think that I'm fast forwarding, that I'm speeding, like I've got some sort of speed modifier on that clip, and it's like, legit, that's me just like going exactly where I want to go, and I know exactly how to get there. It's just like click, 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 and it's just
snip,
delay.
I love that. I love knowing exactly how many taps on what button to get me to the game I want to play. Like I said, like I am the picture of type A engineering efficiency. Like I will, my brain memorizes those motions, and I love that. Like, I don't want to fiddle with your pretty pictures. Just put me in the video game, you know? So, I don't know.
Sean,
I want to talk about this controller.
There we go.
Like, I really want to talk about this controller.
Should I go get it?
Yeah, get the controller. I do have the controller.
No, I don't have it here, but I can
click the buttons.
It's like in the other side of the door.
It's not just that I
How
want
ill prepared is this?
Oh,
I know. We should have told him.
We set him up for this and all of this, and he didn't even have the controller.
He told me he was going to click the buttons.
We talked about it for weeks.
Donnie. He told me. He told me he would click the buttons into the mic.
I mean, he can stay up. He can stay up all night long to cut YouTube videos.
Don't have your controller,
but
on
he
your
can't
desk?
bring the controller to the show.
I forgot I was on the other side. I don't want to press it. Like, if I connect it, the thing's actually on.
No, you don't have
in the
to
other
turn
room.
it on. What I'm curious about is how does it weigh considerably more than the current?
Does it feel more solid than the current one?
It feels like it's about the same weight. Somebody will tell me that it's like 6 pounds heavier, but like it seems to be all right. It's so similar, you guys. Like
it's
really, it really is. The biggest difference is like there's like little like plasticky grips on the back, and they make all the difference in the world. It's not a rubber grip like you would get on your Elite controllers.
Okay,
is it like the ones that have the texture grips that we have now on the One X stuff? Because like, doesn't the Gears one have that?
Yeah, no, the Gears. Okay, so I've got the Gears.
He's got so many controllers. My favorite part.
Yeah, so the Gears one has a little bit more of a rubbery texture.
Okay,
yeah,
so it's
I have
different.
that controller.
It's not that. It's like and I'm sure the way that I'm looking at the PlayStation controller, it's like I don't know what to call it. It's etched, I guess. It's kind of like etched plastic.
Sure.
But it's everywhere. It's like across the entire handle, and really smartly placed on the bumpers.
Is
and
it one
triggers.
mold or is it in pieces again?
It looks like, I don't know, like one mold for the back, and then kind of on the side, and then one for the front.
Okay.
Yeah. I never would have thought to ask that question.
It's just we don't have it and we want it. So this is the life
I
that
was
we're living.
thinking like
tell me about the line.
I was thinking of like the Series X, right? Or I mean the Series X, the Elite controllers. They have the parts that come off, and a lot of times they can peel off and stuff like that, rubber and stuff. So I was wondering like, is it a one solid piece construction? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is probably going to be a pretty good indication of what we're going to get for the design labs.
That's what I was going to ask. Actually,
basically, every one of the, speaking of the molds, like every one of these pieces is going to be like, maybe you can do a different color, which would be great.
I love that.
I will also say that I made a point to put my Elite controller aside for the entire time I was playing with the Series X. I played with the bundled in controller, and dude, like I just love I love the share button. I think it's in a perfect spot.
Yep.
Like, it's just kind of like where you like pick your thumb that you want to use. Like,
that's the
right
sound
in the
of validation, Elaine.
Damn it. I personally, I'm going to use it, but I don't care. I don't care as deeply about it as Donnie does. I'm curious if the bumpers are better than the existing controllers.
Yeah. And I can't remember. I feel like I was on, the Iron Lords podcast, and Jez was there, and he described this as well. Like with the Xbox One controllers, there's kind of like a bend.
Yeah,
to
the bumpers can kind of roll if you're on
like
the
if
edges.
you really squeeze them. Yeah, like if you're kind of getting really into it, like you can be like, this like the Series X controllers, like it's a solid bumper. Like there's no bend to it at all, really.
That's
good.
That's a good thing.
I'm just clicking this as like we can just do our ASMR kind of segment here. Like the click is just. It's just really nice, and the D-pad I think has a really nice click to it as well.
I really like what they've done with the D-pad. They essentially took the disc from the Elite by the high-res images I've seen, and they bumped up the cardinal directions, which I think is very smart, because that's the only downside that I have to the disc is that it's.
That's why I sold my Elite. The moment I saw this controller, I was like, I'm not going to play with that. I'll sell it and get my money out of it now.
I still really like my Elite controller, but because
I'll wait for them to make a proper Elite.
I think I'm kind of with you on that, man. I think I might look at selling it, because it's a totally, and that's like it's not to disparage the Elite. It's a total compliment to the bundled in like freebie controller that you're gonna get.
Yep.
It's that controller is the same tale of hardware that Microsoft is telling with this box, right? it's better through evolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at every controller that they keep releasing in this family of controllers, it's just the best version that they've done so far. Well, it seems like
getting kind of back to now that you've had it, Sean, and you've gotten through all the thrill of unboxing it and played with it and everything. Like, how do you feel like the sense that it's very similar, right? Like it's similar to what we have versus feeling like, we believe in generations. It's a whole new different thing and it looks different. It's got different controllers and everything. I want to say that, and I don't want to just sound like a shill for Xbox, but I kind of am. That's my role
but
here.
He's going to, because he is.
I mean, it's just, I like the simplicity of what they're doing. It's like they believe in their path forward, and I'd rather them put that effort into RDNA 2 features and a better GPU and all of that. I'd much rather play the games better. I don't care.
Oh, that's what I've said the whole time.
Like, I don't care about any of these other things. Like, play the games better than you do. That's what I want.
I think in the end, in the long run, yes, that's the thing that ultimately matters. In the short term, it's kind of like you kind of do want to have like this. Ooh, this is like new, and what's
that's what I'm wondering. Like,
like
an hour after you unboxed it, were you like, or were you still excited?
Well, it's a really good but a difficult question to ask because I was like right to work with it. Right, so it's a different
true,
and I don't want to sound like I wasn't having a blast with it because of course it was just like this, but it's different. Like it arrives in the door and you go, embargo is on November 5th, and I immediately start spreadsheeting and like project mapping and everything like that to try and get it all kind of like
how
sorted
much
out.
of an improvement does this feel over the One X?
It's huge. It's like for the things that are optimized, the games are optimized, amazing. The UI, like when it first boots up,
are you ever going to go back?
No, like mine's right here, and it's like, how do I get another one to like sit here instead of like, I don't know. It's the same. I think a good comparison that like we've been over this I think before with the One X taking over the One S as like the new and improved. Like how many people who had the One X and the One S would go, yeah, I'll just play on the One S. Like probably nobody, like unless you had some sort of like really restrictive type of situation where probably Kevin, exactly.
It was Kevin.
I mean, and there are people with that. Like I still had an S that I would bring with me places. That was
totally, it's your backup.
And then I would go, "Ugh, you're so slow." And I would get annoyed with it, right? And I suspect this will be very similar. Like, I should just get a Series S for the other room instead of playing this game. You know what I mean? The
hard drive on the One X is just like, what a difference. And the fact that we've been playing with this style of hard drive for this many years on console, like I've been saying this before, just more theoretically, but now that I've experienced it, like it really is. Consoles have this weird way of, because they're not doing spreadsheets and they're not like doing anything else, it's like pound for pound, they're going to give you better performance than a PC. Like if you had a PC with the exact same specs, but then it also has to run Windows and also has to run all these other things, like it's not going to do as much. And consoles have this like concentrated power that allows you to do so much more. So you put like the same SSD in a PC and the same SSD in a console. Like I'm not an software engineer or anything, but like it's gonna, or hardware engineer, it's gonna run better. And it just seems to. I feel like the speeds that we're getting on these load times are better than I expected at this point.
Those are bananas. Like the fact that you can be in a game in seconds is, for me, probably, and I've said this a bunch of times over the last couple of weeks, is probably the biggest deal. Even from a cold start, even without quick resume, the amount of time I spend waiting, like I turn stuff on, launch the game, and then go get a glass of water.
Right.
And then come back. And the fact that by the time I get to the steps of my basement, I'll be like, oh, that's
Sean
the
shared
menu.
with me, he got in GTA 5 in like 35 seconds cold start.
Just from nothing, not quick start.
And that game takes like 3 minutes to load.
It's egregious.
Like Red Dead was real bad with that initial load too, where I'll be like, I'm gonna go make a sandwich.
It was a similar improvement, and I would say too that like I was talking before, like I've got limited time in terms of like when I can sit down and actually kind of get to work on this stuff, but I came to realize as I was going over all the game footage that I had been recording over the last little while, like I have a lot of it, and I do attribute that to getting into the game really quickly
Faster.
And not having to like, there wasn't any like game footage where clearly I like picked up my phone after a load or something like that. Or like Gears 5, there's a couple, I don't necessarily like go pay attention to this load screen on the review video, but like they're there for you to see in terms of like when you die on Gears 5, like it is instant.
Yeah.
You are right back into the game. And fast travel with Forza Horizon 4, this is the difference between I think Xbox fans and Sony fans. Like we had basically what I saw with Forza Horizon 4 was what we saw with fast travel with Spider-Man. where it's like, oh my God, this SSD on this PlayStation 5 is so fast, you actually fast travel like instantly. Like that's what I had with Forza.
Wow,
it was,
that's impressive.
They had the screen because it's almost like the software is saying like, you must load up a screen.
Right.
Like it had a picture and it was trying to tell me some sort of stat. Like
I was just sitting there reminding, like,
you
you get that picture where you're like standing by your car for a moment.
Yeah,
right.
It's the Skyrim experience of like you get a really fast PC and you try to load Skyrim and it always wants to tell you things in the load screens, but you never get to read a sentence.
That was
That's
Oblivion as well. I did.
Yep.
I loaded a brand new game of Oblivion. And it's like it knew that it had to display a loading bar, so it did.
Boop.
And that was
and then it's gone.
Yeah.
And like I'm excited. I want to say this because I do care about the PlayStation. I realize it's an Xbox show. Stay with me for a second. I am excited about the Christmas morning aspect of unboxing and turning on a PS5. What's new? What's different? What's shiny?
Well, you work out.
Yeah.
You're strong. You can lift that thing up.
I can lift
put it
that
up over
thing.
your
I
head.
have a spot for the 15-inch box of Obelisk.
Did you see those pictures I shared of that damn thing today?
It is enormous.
Look, I got 2 children who can do manual labor to move the box down into the basement.
At
It'll
Best
be fine.
Buy, it's as big as the TV that it's next to.
Yeah, I cannot wait to take a picture. But the point being, I'm excited about seeing all the new and shiny with that box. I'm excited about being able to play games faster with this one because I don't have the time. Like I got these kids and this job. Like when I have game time, it's really a race between when I can play games and when I'm going to fall asleep with this controller in my hand.
Seriously. Yeah.
So I'm really excited.
I bring it up because I think it's a fair criticism if you're looking for that, right? Like if you're like, well, what's new about it? And it's like, it looks the same. It does a lot of the same things. It just does everything better.
Faster.
And I like that. I like, it feels, the whole Xbox Series X launcher feels like such utility. Like it's just a nice upgrade across the board, right? Like the box itself is simplistic and packed into a simplistic little case, right? It's just, there's no frills on the controller. It's not changing the UI. It's not changing your Xbox experience. Like this is the Xbox experience. It doesn't matter what you're playing on. This is the Xbox experience. And if you buy this box, you can play the Xbox experience best. And it's like they're getting rid of it's like a death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? They're just getting rid of all these little things that you can knick-knack it for. And it's like, hey, just play more games. Game Pass, play more games. Play them faster, play more of them. Play them better.
So there's this weird thing that happens because the UI is the same. They're like, we use this language, like they're basically the same. When you get your hands on a Series X, you're going to look at that 1X and go like, this is I can't play this.
Archaic.
It's so
you still feel that generational leap, even though it's the same.
And I think it's going to break people's brains because I'm seeing the same thing, but when I go back to the 1X, it's like, no, thank you. Not even a little bit.
It's the new phone experience, right? It's I'm running this version of the software on this phone. It's 2 years old. I get the new phone. Why is everything so much faster? It's exactly what they're giving us on a TV. Really.
But at the same time, like the 1X is still like a great option for people, or I guess even like I would love to see what the Series S is like a little bit, because like it's one thing to say the new thing is the one that you want, right? Sure. But what the actual description is, what you have sucks. Like that's
you don't want that.
I feel like I'm really channeling my Donnie with that. Like once you,
I called the Series S Garbo today. I told Kevin I'm not going to play on that Garbo console.
I'm going to just sit here and rub my.
I'm really curious about it.
I bought it. I read a lot of reviews for it today, and I don't mean to demean anybody that's excited about getting Series S. You should be. It's a very economical entry point, and it's a great companion console. But am I going to play my games on it? No.
I mean, neither am I, but my kids very well might.
Exactly. I bought one for Jack. I think it looks cool. I like, there are things that I like about it, but it is compromised. Like it has 300 gigabytes of storage. It doesn't do ray tracing, and it doesn't do 120 frames in most games, and its resolution is not always 1440p. Like it's a compromised experience. The question is whether or not you care about it. That's the question.
And what percentage of people have the capability to care now?
Exactly. But I obviously care. So I'm obviously not going to play it.
We're not the representative sample of people, right?
Sure.
Like we're the people who have a use case for this beefy boy. A lot of people have a use case for the S, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see as there's more and more hardware in the market, because I don't think this year is going to be a good indication of anything.
Yeah.
Like how that skews, and then how it changes over time as 4K gets adopted and more TVs get sold. Like, I think it's going to be cool. Yep. That'll be cool to watch. We don't get to watch that with Sony. We just get to see who cares about discs and who snaps them over their knee and throws them out the window. So,
Sean,
I'm excited.
Tell me about those animated themes.
You know, I didn't try one just yet. Actually, I just picked. I haven't done it yet. That's something
He's
I haven't
out.
gotten
Get him
into.
out.
I'm sorry. I know. I didn't.
Xbox Canada.
It's not my bag.
Come
It's
on.
not my bag.
Damn
It's
it,
not-
Canada.
I was, at some point I was gonna walk on a landmine that like somebody's like, you didn't do this. How? Why would they ever send this to you?
Happy to be that guy. I'm really
Thanks,
excited
bound to
about those
happen.
themes. I
I'm
love
actually
the, I
surprised
love
it took
the
this long.
themes. I like seeing the stuff like play them. I'm very hopeful. I don't think we have any evidence to hope yet, but I'm very hopeful that we get game inspired themes and
That's
cool
that's
ways
the reason I have to be honest, like
Yeah.
not to just like walk myself out of this hole. Like I'm a very sentimental kind of gamer. Like my background is Ori because it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Right. Like I put up the background that's just like, man, I love that moment. Like I took a screenshot when I was playing Diablo. It was like one of the cinematics of like that devil thing is just like, holy crap, it looks
Yeah.
amazing. Like it's kind of like gametography a little bit that
Yeah.
you can do. And that's becoming a little bit easier with the share
I
button
always
now,
look at it
too.
as like decorative. I have like holiday themes and stuff that I put on my PlayStation. That
Oh,
I just
that's so good. Of
play.
course you do. Of course
Yeah.
you do.
I'm more like Sean, where I get like locked into something that's like the PlayStation ones. Is
I
like
mean-
I'm using this Resident Evil theme, and that's what I'm using forever. You know what I mean? Like I get attached. My computer backgrounds are the same way. I don't cycle
I
wallpapers.
was just thinking that.
get locked
Yeah, for
in.
the people who can't decide on like one, you have like the rotating background.
I
Like
have
That would be cool.
over
I
1,000
would like
wallpapers.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
I
love
mean,
that
I'm
stuff.
but I'm like you. I'm sentimental. Just like give me a good Witcher one, and we're done here. So
yeah.
it'll be there
Oh, I know
forever.
the one. I know the one.
Yeah, you know the one.
That's your background.
Great,
You know?
fantastic.
Mhm, he's like he's having a baby in the bath.
I hate that bathtub.
Just throw some stirrups. Somebody
every
should drop
time
stirrups.
that every time that acrylic figure goes for on sale, like and someone tweets it, I get tagged in it. I'm like, I
Oh,
do
of
not
course.
need Geralt in the bathtub, y'all. I have, well, whatever.
His feet look soft. It doesn't look like he's on his feet.
We're
all
not
the
doing
time.
this today,
All right.
Canada. We're not going to go to feet. You know, that's a landmine if I've ever seen one.
Fair enough.
I think, Donnie, we got lots of listener questions for
We
Sean,
do.
too.
We do.
Let's do it.
We got zero skill. He
I feel like
goes,
it's like I made it.
question about the Series X. I've been trying out console streaming to my iPhone X
That's a good question.
from my launch year Xbox One, the VCR, on my home Wi-Fi, and I get screen tearing, stuttering, input lag. I was curious how the Series X performs for console streaming to phone. Did you do any remote play?
Yeah, it. I don't know if it's necessarily if I'm attributing it to the Series X, but I recently, like when I tried it on my One X, it started working better with the new app that came out for Apple.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. It'd be just really interesting. I haven't kept any of my Xboxes. Like I've been trading up the entire time from my OG to the S. Was it the S? The
I
original?
honestly would be
Yes.
surprised if it was different. But I mean, I think all of that's more focused on your network environment than the hardware itself. But I guess if it had a better Wi-Fi card, it could give some.
That was my number one question.
Yes.
Is like I wouldn't like I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of a I don't know what the word is. I'm a little pretentious about like using Wi-Fi. Like Wi-Fi is like last case scenario, like worst case scenario. You don't use Wi-Fi. Like if it's important to you, you'll hardwire it. And I would say that for people wanting to, because you can't rely on two Wi-Fi connections for this remote play business. It's just like
Sure.
there's so much interference. There's so many ways for that to go wrong. So at the very least, you got to have your console, like find a way to get that thing hardwired.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm making a lot of people doing some like gut checks right now. Like, wait, what is mine? I don't think mine's hardwired.
Wi-Fi
Like
has
shit.
evolved a lot in the
Mine's
last
never
couple of
hardwired.
years. No, I don't hardwire.
It's not
at all.
hardwired.
It's too far
No.
to run a cable.
Look,
just
I
too
am
far.
a
Get a long one.
Nah.
I design network comm systems for airports. I do not hardwire in most of my home. I will say that. I have
Oh
very,
my
very
gosh,
good
you
Wi-Fi
guys.
in this house, and I have like a really high-end
I'm like
router.
20 feet away from my pod, and I'd have to like go through the wall or through the
See, it's always these
ceiling.
people who tell me that they got really strong Wi-Fi, everything is really good, and then their video sucks on a video conference. I hear it every single day.
Oh,
It's just-
but that's we can have. I'm
Not
doing
me. Look what I'm doing.
that's a different conversation, especially with the like sort of network side server stuff. Look, I don't play a ton of. I'll be honest, I don't play a ton of like multi, so it doesn't matter to me. But I don't use Wi-Fi for most game stuff these days.
Even
So.
that, like this is how like I take the podcasting seriously. Like I've got a 50-foot cable like running behind this thing, around the corner, over through the door, like to the router on the other side of this thing. Like and I got a little switch here too, so that everything is hardwired. Like I've got like one cable coming in here, going to the switch, and then my PlayStation, my Xbox. Now it's my Xbox One sitting here, my work laptop, and my PC that I'm on right now. It's all hardwired through this switch. There are ways, and it cost me like $20.
Yeah, no, you could totally do it. I'm not saying that I couldn't. I could.
don't want to.
I could drop those cables right into the basement. I just don't. I haven't needed to.
Just
like my
no.
throughput is like ridiculous. So we're good. We're good so far.
And just buy more Wi-Fi. Just buy more Wi-Fi instead.
Buy more Wi-Fi.
I mean, that's what I did. It's been
Buy it
great.
in bulk.
I get my Wi-Fi from Costco. It's fine. 20% off. Let's see. This one's actually pretty good from Sean. He asked how multiple profiles might work with Quick Resume. Did you try this at all? Like swapping between active users signed in?
No, I only had mine signed in, but I can refer to Alana Pierce, who like unplugged her Series X. Like, she had to like unplug for a day. Yeah. So I imagine that's maybe as close to like switching.
I do wonder if it's still somewhat credentialed or stored to the. It's got to be to the user, right? Like you couldn't pick.
Well, it's got to be, but there's got to be like so many. You're going to be limited to how many games you can have.
Right. So if you can do 4 per user, you can only do 2 per 2 users.
That's what I'm curious about.
Or like, if the one person just dominates it all.
Yeah.
It's like if it's a shared cache or whatever.
That's what the Series S is for. Just buy the other person one of those.
Just buy the other person. You know what? That's something I would actually just be interested to see because I've got like my son has a profile. I'll just log us both in and play with it. But I was just kind of curious if you had done that. I saw this question. I was like, ooh, I wonder.
That is a good question. The one thing, the thing that I did do that continues to work on Xbox, and I'm certain it's the same on PlayStation, that does not work on Nintendo, and it drives me crazy, is my copy. Let's say I own like Red Dead Redemption 2. Right. So I played that on my Series X and then I played it on Chelsea Series X under her profile. But my profile was the one that downloaded it onto hers. That still works. I can still like fire up the same game at the same time, even though it's owned by only one of us.
Yeah, and game sharing still works.
I can still do that. Yeah. Yep. So that's really great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Delvin wants to know, as a PlayStation person, who has both consoles pre-ordered, is there something besides Game Pass that could keep me on my Series X as opposed to my PS5? I love how he sent the question and then took away like the Xbox's best factors, like its number one factor of ownership was Game Pass. He's like,
well, especially because Destiny's on there.
So how about this, Delvin? If I wanted to get a PlayStation 5, what's the reason that I would play PlayStation 5? Not exclusive games. That would keep me playing PlayStation 5 over there. How's that?
That's a proper response to this question.
Probably. Yeah, it probably is. I think that, I mean, it's Game Pass, right? Like it is for me. That's why I use my Xbox more than I have both consoles right here.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person, it's so funny because he cares about flops and frames and all these other things too. Like this is where you're going to get more of them for the third party
Delvin
stuff.
does not. Devin doesn't care. Delvin, not Devin. Delvin.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misheard.
Delvin doesn't care about any of that at all. But Jason Schreier had comments today. He basically said that the Xbox had no reason for ownership. We've heard that quite a bit. I've said a lot about it, so I'm not going to regurgitate all that. But it's like Game Pass, and you can be like, "Well, I can get Game Pass on your PC," and it's like, "Yeah, you can."
In there, I almost like don't even like.
I'm over it.
Whatever.
You just got to let it go.
If you don't want it, just I don't care. Like it's a stupid decision. It's a stupid opinion, I think, to have because it's awesome. Game Pass is the real deal.
He's such an influential person in the industry. To have that take feels disingenuous. It's like, man, that's pretty rough. Because as somebody said today, like what Series X can do with a game like Gears or a game like Forza and other games can outperform PC builds that would cost so much more, exponentially more money to do the same thing. But we hear it all the time, like, I'll just play my PC. It's like, yeah, I guess you'll spend $1,500, $2,000 to do so, but sure, you can. Go ahead.
I feel like you quoted me on an Xbox Drive earlier this summer. It's like you're literally like if you're just so dead set in your opinion to ignore what's happening over on Xbox, like you're just paying a luxury and a premium to have that opinion. You're paying extra. Like all the games are they're free or they're free masters. Like why would you? Like it's this blind loyalty that I don't understand.
That's it. It's just I don't like Xbox. That's really all it comes down to. And
I think there's a little bit. I'll jump in on the dissenting opinion because I play a lot on PC. Like I think that I've built up a Steam library of like over 800 games. Like when I buy a new PC, it's the same concept as putting a new Xbox in there, except it's 800 games. You know,
and that was actually my biggest issue with Jason's whole little tweet thread this morning is that I know, because I listened to his podcast, I know that he plays a lot on PC. Yeah. And I'm like, you play PC. What do you mean? What's the reason? What's the reason for you getting a new PC or a new GPU? It's the same reason.
It's the same reason. But I think that speaks to, and we've talked about this, Donnie, multiple times, this idea that a new console has to do things the new console way that it's always been done.
Yep,
Exclusive
that's exactly what it
games,
is.
exclusive features, and we're not playing that game anymore. Sony's still playing that game, and that's awesome. Nintendo largely plays whatever game they want and sell.
They made that game. They created
Microsoft
that
has decided, like, oh God, that's right, we're good at the services game, so that's the game we're going to play.
Yep.
And I think that people need to get it out of their head that like this is a new console that's going to be a shiny new console experience, like it's always been. It's different now.
But I think now the thing that is happening when you plump a Series X into your house and you've got all the power in the world, you're no longer like constrained or connected to the old messaging of the Xbox, which was like the power isn't very good. And so I feel like that overarching message, like everything that was attached to the stigma that was attached to the Xbox One got attached, and it infected all the great games.
Oh, yeah.
Sunset Overdrive, Ori and the Blind Forest, like all these games that were legitimately like amazing games, they were always like, well, it's not as good as what's happening on PlayStation. Like when you get into this era and you're revisiting Gears 5, and it's like, it is a showstopper. This is the one that you go, come over and look at my new console because I want to show you Gears 5. Like you go like, yeah, it's from 2019, but it isn't. Like that game didn't exist in 2019. The game you're playing now exists now, and it looks amazing, and it is amazing, and it's kind of like
there's a detailed breakdown for those listening on Digital Foundry where it's outperforming the ultra highest settings on very serious builds. I think even like a 3090, like what they're doing on Series X. Now, obviously, it's highly optimized for the console because it's first party, but that's what you're getting. Like that's what you're getting out of the console. Like if you're trying to put the console on, on a benchmark on a display, like the console, they feel very comfortable buying a Series X for a very long time.
I think you just can't keep ignoring games like people are talking, oh, Xbox only got Gears and Forza and Halo. It's like,
They're
but
good.
Gears and Forza are amazing,
They're
and they
good games.
run so incredibly well, and they're the reason. Like when you fire it up, I'm telling you guys, Forza Horizon 4 at this point is the one to start it up with. Or
That's gonna be my
Gears 5, Forza Horizon 4.
You're answering my next question, so I'm going to read this next question because I think it's relevant. And this conversation is relevant to this question. So BMox writes, someone has bought their new console, freshly unpacked, all set up. This is an Xbox. This person has never played anything that's on Game Pass. What's the one definitive game, not third party, that someone should install? And what you're saying is Gears or it's Forza Horizon?
I think it's Gears.
I think it's probably Gears just by what I've seen because it's Gears, But like, if you didn't buy an Xbox One and you buy this console, there are a ton of exclusive games that you didn't get to touch.
It's the Switch coming after the Wii U kind of deal.
It is.
Right? There's so many games that like the people who were on it, they knew, but now hopefully a lot of people will jump in for the first time and they'll get like the newest, latest, greatest version of the game. They don't know anything
about Ori yet.
Yeah, they haven't played Ori. They haven't played Forza Horizon.
For Ori
maybe they don't have a PC. I'm very excited about that too.
I did fire it up just to see, like maybe there's some sort of weird magic happening, but like I don't think so. So I put it away and I'm just waiting for that patch to come out.
I think it's running smoother just on hardware alone.
Yeah, again, that's where I'd like to see. Like I don't know,
but it's not juice.
Maybe
right? They're gonna.
It's not juice.
They're gonna juice it.
It's not juice.
It's not into Triple H yet. It's just it's tinier. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Crayon77 goes. Are there any features you assumed would be there that aren't?
Quick resume is probably the one that like isn't quite there. I feel like because everything was like it's a carryover. I'm not sure that there is anything.
Nothing feels noticeably missing or anything.
No, like I recall when Xbox One came out, there wasn't a party chat.
Yeah,
and it's like, how the hell did that happen? And those are the types of things that get missed when you throw out your old UI that like worked for the other console. You build one from scratch. It's like you might miss something, but everything carries over. The one thing that like there's just so many more options now that you have all this power, and I do think they updated on the One X UI as well. Like you can actually set it to 120 hertz. I think on the
you can
on the One X if you
really?
go and look.
Oh,
you can.
It's really weird.
It doesn't support it, but it's in the UI.
Oh, so they basically just put the same damn UI in. They totally
it's
just
been there. It's been there since I bought my TV. Like you can do it. You've been able to do it for quite some time. So I was real happy to kind of figure out how it's all done, so I can have it set up beforehand. But yeah, it's all there.
Does it auto detect that stuff, Sean? If you plug this thing in fresh, does it auto detect like what your TV can support?
Yeah, so it has the same great like checklist, which is
okay. Cool.
It's kind of
it doesn't auto check it. You got to go to that calibration menu and click all the buttons.
Yeah, it's got like HDR calibration in it now too. Right?
It'll tell you if like your TV supports it, and like you may have to go turn on HDR to your input or whatever, which I cannot believe is even a thing. But The other thing too that I was finding, this is such a like me problem, but I found that some of my games, I was doing some game capture, it seemed like HDR was bleaching it out. And I only say that if is that a thing?
The auto HDR or the new HDR?
Well, it was happening with Dirt a little bit, but definitely a lot on the 360 games.
I've heard that a lot.
A lot of my footage was just rendered useless.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, that's like you're asking an algorithm to do math on something that wasn't designed.
Sorry,
for
but what I was looking at looked great. Like on my screen, like on my TV, it looked great. And but my footage,
it does the same thing on PlayStation 4. Like if you capture a game in HDR and then you share it, it looks way worse.
Yeah,
that's so weird. Yeah, that's bizarre.
Definitely, it outputs that stuff in a broken way for capture cards to pull. Even if your capture device supports HDR, it can get a little wonky.
Yeah,
I wonder if they'll fix that. They probably.
It was a huge reason why I was up all night last night because I had all this footage and I can't use any of it, so I had to go
set down the video editor and it was like, oh no.
Yeah, there's
quite
a
the
bit.
worst
I'm like,
feeling.
I wanted to showcase quite a bit more variety, but I was like, I had a lot of this other stuff and I just could not use it. Like I was thinking like, do I go in and edit it or apply filters or whatever? It's like, it's not what I wanted out of it. I wanted to be able to capture exactly what was coming out of it. I didn't want to have any alterations, like all the load screens. There's no cuts.
That's exactly why
it's super clear.
Sometimes when I'm sharing stuff on Twitter, I take a picture of my TV with my phone instead of a screenshot. And I got that for a long time. People are like, it's got a screenshot button. I'm like, the picture from my phone's better than that, don't you?
Yeah, the problem with outputting HDR is it gets weird.
Yeah.
It can get super weird. And I don't want to go into the settings and turn it off because
that's essentially what I had to do.
It's a pain.
Yeah.
And it's tedious. And I really dislike. I hope they fix that, but they might not be able to. I'm kind of curious to see how that evolves. Paige actually did have a question about Party Chat, by the way. Can you use those features right now? Party Chat, messaging. I mostly want to know how snappy the overlay interface feels to use while having having simultaneous social stuff going on. Is it better than the 1X?
Everything is faster. Yeah. And Party Chat did work. I was on with Bad Bit as he kind of showed me around Sea of Thieves a little bit. I'm like, I guess I should probably have like a screenshot of it or a little bit of like Sea of Thieves. I'm like, this game sucks, but I'm just kidding. I don't know. I just don't really get it. But it looks gorgeous. It looks cool. It runs smooth. But it's
too
just
bad they didn't
so
make a good game with it.
Dude. Oh my gosh. Everybody's like, they've added so much stuff. And it's like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know, dude. It's just, I'm not for me. I'm glad people like it, but
that's a very divisive game, isn't it? Like
maybe
I was
just gonna say I'm not putting my hat in this.
I've ever heard. Like you either love it or you hate it. Like there's no in between. There's nobody. It's like I can play some Sea of Thieves. Like that never happens.
Yeah. No, I just don't really care about. What is it a good thing or a bad thing to say? Like I just don't think about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Maybe that's really mean.
I'm the same.
Never think of you.
It's a gorgeous game, and I wish they made a better game with that engine.
Mm-hmm. You know what though? Like it's doing the thing that I'm glad about it is that there was this whole like Microsoft has squandered Rare, and it's like no, they haven't. They have 15 bazillion people playing this game. That's old
Nintendo. People, they gotta let. I've said on Shaq 1,000 times. They gotta let it go. It's not Rare. It's not the Rare that you know. It's 30 years later. Nobody's there. It's all different. Like
it's different.
They think the same thing about retro. And it's like, none of those people are there anymore. Like, it's all gone. It's all different.
It's true.
Tim, Neoprime, he was in the chat and he goes, is it possible to play a game between systems or the cloud? Like, if I'm on my 1X in one room, xCloud on my phone, and Series X in my living room, can I play Gears 5 on any of those at any time on the same save file?
Yes. One at a time. You can't have you can't have all three accessing the same game all at the same time. It will recognize that you're trying to do that. The cool thing that they just added, this is not a Series X thing. This is just the Xbox ecosystem, is that I can be logged in on my Xbox playing a game, and then Chelsea can be logged in on my profile using like a PC or something else and watching Netflix, right? Like it's not going to, it's like you're walking down different like aisles of the grocery store. It's like you're allowed to do that. You're not going to bump into each other, and it's totally fine. So that is cool. That's the thing. Like that's the thing, Tim, that I keep screaming at Bobby about, like with this whole, and any Nintendo fans really. It's like, and I talked about this in the review. Going from the 1X to the Series X is easier than for me going from my Switch Lite to my Switch.
I have to upload the cloud manually sometimes.
And bring it back down. And that's
manually.
if the game,
do it too.
That's if the game even allows it.
It's if it works. I have the same use case with my Switch as you do. I have a docked big boy, and then I have a light that I play when I sit in bed and don't want to do adult things like turn on a television. And it's a pain in my butt. And I'm encouraged to hear that this is like easy breezy. I have an extension of this question. Can you party and play the same game with people between generations? So Gears 5 is a great example. It runs on your Series X. Can I play with a 1X user?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's kind of the same. Like this is not too different from the 1X to the 1S to the 1. It's all the same. It's all the same family. I played Sea of Thieves with Joe with Bad Bit, and there was a couple times because he was curious about the load times. He couldn't wait to see the videos and stuff. So I'm like, okay, so let's 3, 2, 1, go. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. And he's like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
and there's like, the point where you die and you're in like the haunted ship or whatever. You walk through the door. And I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna walk through and I'm back. And he just could not he dropped his controller. He's like, there's no way, because it's for people who play that game a lot, it's just like that's worse than the actual dying or whatever progress you lose. It's the fact that you have to sit there and wait for that load time. And like coming back to life, it's like fast travel and getting back to playing after a death. It's kind of like every game is like Super Meat Boy now.
That's kind of crazy. And like the idea that because Destiny is coming to Game Pass, or most of it is on Game Pass right now, right? Is it out yet? It's inconsequential. Destiny
is in Game Pass right now, yes.
And then the new content will be too. So it's like, I want to know if somebody does an upgrade, can we still play Destiny together? Can we still party?
Most definitely.
And that's very smart. Like this is where Microsoft was very smart, because there's tons of people that won't be able to get this box.
That's what they're that's Xbox. That's what they're trying to do.
Most of the time when I'm on party chat, I'm on my PC. Usually like I'll be playing, like I'll stream from my Xbox and I'll have party chat going through my PC, so I can hear it through here and it works with the stream. It's beautiful. But nobody would know. That's the best part, is like I'm using Game Bar to manage my party, but everybody else is using their Xbox. I'm like, doesn't matter to me.
Right.
The only time it really doesn't work is there are several times with like Game Pass on PC that doesn't crossplay with Game Pass on console, and I wish that they would nail that down more.
Yeah, like Minecraft Dungeon just got it.
Yeah.
I do too. I'm glad to hear that the console generations don't seem to care. Like, because there are a ton of people that won't get this box. And now if you plop a PS5 in your house, who knows? You know what I mean? But it's
just
really
play
nice.
Xbox.
That's a good question for PlayStation. Yeah, I guess like that's just something like I've just assumed would always would be something. If it didn't work, I would be livid, to be honest with you. Like if I jumped on my Series X and I tried to jump on a party with Bad Bit and I couldn't, I'd be absolutely pissed.
Because you can't bring me along for the ride and then break it there.
No, that's exactly what believing in generations means.
That's what we did last time, though. You didn't even have party chat as an option for Xbox One players at the start. Yeah. Let alone like Xbox One to 360. Like it was so not an option.
It was broken. But they've built this ecosystem that doesn't care what box you're sitting in. So if that was broken, that disillusions me to the whole idea of how they're building this, right? So I'm glad that it works, because it needs to.
Yeah, you get a couple of little tests in there. It's like,
and you probably will like eventually they'll probably like phase out like like OG Xbox Ones can't work anymore, and then like
I think that's just going to be a matter of the game is no longer released on that device.
Yeah, they'll just do the thing that Apple's do, like iPhones do, where it's like your storage is full. It's like, with what? It's like, I don't know, something, but it's full.
Doesn't work anymore.
Images of cats
just doesn't work. Yeah, the battery's dead. It's like, this plugged in. Sorry.
But I think they'll break it once they say, oh, new game. Once developers start saying new games going forward are only on this box. Mm-hmm. That's where it breaks. But for now, I can party with Destiny players who are on that, on the 1X, and that's good. That's smart.
Man, I'm telling you guys, like I'm going from the 1X to the Series X, and I'm like blown. I'm like the was it Maxwell, the guy in the speaker, is just blown away. People going from who had the question about they were streaming or the remote play
the VCR.
To their phone. Yeah. People going from the VCR to this. Holy crap. Please, like, can you just record yourself? Just like set it up for the first time, just before you hit the power button. Just set up some sort of like reaction, please. Like, because you're going to have a reaction. You're not going to be able to help it. You're going to like, oh, this is my reaction. It's happening.
Sure.
Like, it's so much faster.
My children are excited because we have, I don't upgrade. I always keep one back. I'm that person. I do it with phones. I do it with consoles. I do it with everything. There are 2 VCRs in my home. My kids have them.
Oh, totally.
Still kicking my launch day VCR, by the way. That thing is indestructible. And it's basically a Fortnite box. Mm-hmm. So I told my kids, well, there's a 1S in this house and then there's the 1X. You can each have one of those. And they're pumped. They're like, dude, hell of an upgrade for Fortnite. And I'm like, I'm going to put the beefy boy down
That's
here.
like Lincoln when he goes from his 2DS to the Wii U. It's like,
it's a big deal. Oh, it's on the screen. Yeah, like kids are great. They're just kind of dumb about technology. It's fantastic.
Stupid
Not
kids.
Lying. They know mine's better, but they also don't
wait till
care
they start listening to your show like my son does and starts correcting you and gets all the
my show.
Yeah.
They're like, Mom, can we listen to your? Nope. Mom, is it streamed on? Nope.
Yeah, definitely not live. Yeah, super hard to get actually.
Only in Canada.
Is that all of our questions, Donnie?
Yeah, I think so. We have a couple we can get to at the end of the show, or we can do them here before we hit some news.
No, we'll do some news. We'll give poor Sean a break.
Oh,
we'll let him stew in the fact that he put no animated theme on his box. He can think about what he's done wrong.
Why even buy? Why even get a Series X?
Go in the timeout corner.
I mean, I thought it was all about the animated theme.
I will say I was getting better download speeds from it. This is super weird, but everything is hardwired. Everything's the same, but I was getting better download speeds on my Series X and my One X by a lot.
That is actually.
I don't know why.
It's got to be better hardware, right? It's got to be better bandwidth.
Buffering could be better coming through that Ethernet card.
Processing.
And that could be the reason. That's like the only thing.
Because it's writing to storage, SSD
it's got to write
instead of hard drive.
And it only the buffer size.
Yeah, the write speed to the drive is definitely faster, so that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh God, that was the nerdiest conversation we've had in this entire show. And the show has been nerdy. You can push your glasses up. I'm not wearing mine. Damn.
I'm excited, Sean. Right. I'm happy. I'm happy for you. I've been a big fan for you for a long time. I'm happy for the Xbox Drive to finally get some recognition from Xbox Canada and realizing how great the show is. And I can't wait to join you, man. Tuesday.
Oh, dude, they've done everything they've done a lot for us. Like E3 last year happened because of them. They sent a 1X before all of this. Like I'm very, very for it. Right, this is not a finally type of thing.
But for me, it is in the sense that like I'm a fan of several Xbox podcasts, and I see them getting a lot of opportunities that I don't necessarily see you always getting the same opportunities, and I always want to see you kind of with them at the same time.
I feel that for you guys. Well, I feel like we're what is it, punching above our weight class. Like it just very, very fortunate. We're small time compared to so many other people, and like you jump on our YouTube channel, it's like what this guy's unboxing is like 50 views. Like we're very, very fortunate. But we love what we do, man. That's so awesome.
I'm picking up my Series S on Tuesday at 6 a.m. at Best Buy. My X is to be delivered by Amazon by the end of that day. My Walmart X is supposed to be delivered no later than Thursday, and Kevin's S is supposed to be delivered by the end of the week. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, let me ask you guys some questions. Like, you're going to be buying it as an Xbox fan, but you are a content creator as well. Like, what are you going to, like, are you going to want to do like comparisons yourself? Like, do you want to see side by side stuff? You play as a player kind of a thing.
It's one of those types of things where that boat has already left harbor. There's a
I felt that way with
comparisons in the early access for Xbox. It's been out there for so long. It'd be a waste of time to throw any load comparisons or picture comparisons. Like, it's all been done.
Yeah.
So
I think personally, I have not unboxed a console, a big one of these two consoles in 7 years. Right? Like, I mean, really like a new experience, right? I got the One X, and I want to tear the damn thing open, plug it in. And go.
At this point, what I'm excited for,
video games,
because we've had elections and everything, I've actually finagled my boss into letting me have a couple of days off next week.
How the hell did you do that? Who'd you murder?
I was at the elections, Fulton County, Georgia. Everybody, America is looking at us in our State Farm counting process. Fulton County, Georgia. I did really well. My system held up really well. I put in a lot of work, put in a lot of late work, and my boss was like, we were getting a lot of kudos. He was getting a lot of kudos. Like, people in the county and everything were like, you guys did a really great job. And I was like, I know that we don't have leave, and I'm sorry for going on this tangent if it's too long, but you two know that I haven't had leave since March.
No, dude,
it's been dismissed.
No doubt.
So I was like, there are these consoles coming out next week, and I would really love to not focus on work. Like, I'll be available. If somebody starts protesting or something, I'll go to work. But if I could not work, if everything's cool, like, that'd be great. And he was like, sure. So there's a county holiday on Wednesday, and I'm taking Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off.
Nice. I'm jealous.
So for me, I'm all War Lady Viking. I'm excited to sit down, hop into Valhalla, and get lost.
If that game is awesome, I am putting a freaking Viking axe tattoo on my body at some point.
Oh.
I'm saying that right now. I'm doing it.
Your tattoos are awesome, by the way. Like, those are absolutely amazing.
I'm very excited about this, and this gets color in like a month. But if that game is awesome, I told my husband crossing Viking axes is happening on like my back shoulder, and he's like, "You're kind of scary, and I love you." And I'm like,
because you're the best.
That's the right answer.
Yeah.
Donnie, I also have Wednesday and Thursday off. I was supposed to have Friday as well, but some things happened at work that I've got to go in. But I was planning on that as well.
I'm gonna pout.
I would have taken the 10th off when it actually all happens, but I had some.
You've already got it.
No, like it was. I had pre-booked like an all-day thing that I've got.
Sure.
I have to be at work, but Wednesday's a holiday for us. It's remembered today, and then it took Thursday as well. So we'll jump on We'll jump on a party chat. Like,
yeah, we can hang out. I was thinking about you last night when you were talking about how late you were up, and I was up too. I was editing our video and stuff, and I didn't tweet you, but I wanted to tell you. I was like, dude, just call me whenever you want. You know better.
Oh man,
Yeah, we should-
I didn't
you know
even
what?
make any sense.
I will be online as soon as I get a box to be online with, so I'll add you guys. Make sure you're on my Xbox list.
Yeah,
Oh, so
I will
fun.
probably.
it's like I want to see Gears and I want to see Forza and I want to see the things, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Like now that Cyberpunk's out of the way, it's like, yeah, here we go.
Let's
Valhalla.
play Vikings.
Valhalla. Yeah.
I'm very excited. I'm like very excited about that video game. I told my husband that I was going to take the 3 days before American Thanksgiving off. So I'm just going to make that a full week. And that's where my consoles will be settled. Some of the kinks will be worked out. Patches will have happened and I will settle in and tell my children to eat nothing but Uncrustables and string cheese for 4 days. I just
Nice.
don't care.
Yeah, they'll survive. Yeah.
They
Figure it out.
they won't die.
That's the one thing that's too bad that the launch dates didn't come until so late in the year that like Extra Life kind of said Extra Life Day is November 7th, and then all the consoles come out like 3 or 4 days after that.
Yeah, that's
like would have been Nathan's in the chat saying that he's going to do his 100% from the Series X a week afterwards, but like wouldn't it just be awesome
Yeah.
to celebrate like
To
the
pair it
launch
all
of
up
this console?
together.
Everybody is just doing
That could have been an
PS5
X-Wire, like an Xbox Wire article. Like they could have done a video about it and everything. Like, hey, Xbox is
Seriously.
partnering with Extra Life. We're doing Extra Life launch day. Like that could have totally been a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I think they
it's
were.
too
I
bad.
think that global pandemic threw a lot of their plans out of whack.
That's a
Because I
couple
don't
days.
think-
Sure.
A couple days off. This could have easily been done. That's just a missed
I
opportunity.
think they're like worried about just getting hardware into market at this
That's a
point.
big-
like, oh
yeah, 'cause
God, like I
we have-
just saw a tweet before we hopped on. Best Buy is like, you cannot walk into one of our stores and buy a box until 2021.
Walmart's doing the same thing.
Wow.
That's nuts. You have to buy them online whenever we get stock, no matter what. Only online. That's how crazy this is. Like a major console launch, first one in 7 years, and this is where we're at. That's insane.
We got
to
more
me.
people playing consoles than ever before. I mean, it's just the demand is too high. It's outpacing manufacturing at a rate
Yeah.
that it's never done before.
And then
Yeah.
manufacturing is also complicated right now because cramming a bunch of people
And
in a warehouse
development
is
is
a bad
complicated,
idea,
and
so
there's people working remote from home. Like it's gonna hot mess. It's gonna be a little roughy. It's gonna be a rocky start.
that's why I'm saying Thanksgiving week.
I hope
by then-
people are very forgiving and
I'm
understandable, like content, like just let it ride. It'll get a lot better in 3
Let
months
it
or so.
ride.
Like, give it some time. But I mean, we saw the Cyberpunk delay, and I don't think that's going to happen. Like knowing the gamer space, but it's just like it seems a little unfair to be too harsh early on. It's like I think everybody's deserved a year. Like give them a year.
that's why I'm in no rush. Like that's why I'm like, if I don't get my console on the 10th, like it's fine.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I see people
can't.
there. I
I'm
see
too-
people like that. They're like, mine's not coming to the 13th. It's like, chill.
Can't. It'll be here.
There's
I
a
keep telling my kids,
monumental logistic effort happening.
I feel bad for my UPS man because I already started Christmas shopping. So like I already.
How
feel bad
many
for him.
PS5s are they going to have to lift?
I hope
Man,
that
the
they don't hurt
workers' comp
themselves.
is going to be
Yeah,
a
that's-
serious issue. Lower back injuries.
See,
Imagine if
yeah.
you had to walk upstairs and stuff. They're going to have to we're going to need
You're
like
brutal.
shifts and rotations and things like that. Like this can't be possible. Or I guess
gotta
they could
put
do
on a
like
dolly.
they could do the team lift process, right? Like if team lift, you get the little rubber bands.
Just drag-
I'm
One at
gonna
a
get
time.
my kids. I'm gonna get my kids in a moving blanket and film a stupid video of
Dude,
them pretending
they
to
should
lift
have
with
instead of
PS5.
like this is how you share games on PlayStation. They should say
This
this is how you lift with
a
your
PS5.
knees. Yeah.
Lift with just gotta squat properly. The chest up, back. No, it's good. It'll work out. It'll be great.
I'm never going to
All
let
right,
that one
let's-
go.
Let's talk. Don't start. Let's talk about the news before Donnie gets started because I can't. Okay, so we got news today that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is going to hit EA Play on November 10th, along with EA Play getting combined into Game Pass. I actually was surprised by this piece of news because they have held the Star Wars stuff back from EA Play for quite some time. Hell of a way to welcome you into a new ecosystem.
I was expecting
you know?
this. When
Really?
they
I
announced
was
when they
not.
announced the EA Play was coming to Game Pass, that was kind of where I was going. I was like, yeah, they're going to put Star Wars there day one. I think because when I said that, people were like, no, it still hasn't come. And I was like, they'll
I
probably
really
put-
didn't think so.
I was even thinking, I was like, they'll probably put Squadrons in there too.
Now they
Yeah.
haven't.
Yeah.
They haven't made a call about Squadrons yet. Just to note, this is Fallen Order. This is the older Star
Yep,
Wars game.
this is
not
the one that
new
came out
Star
last
Wars
year.
game.
Which
But Squadrons is getting bumped, right? Like it's getting some
yep,
good juju for
yep,
this.
it's getting
launch.
enhanced way more.
Sorry,
than,
what are we calling it? Juju?
Juju, good juju.
Oh, that reminds me. I forgot.
juiced.
Mark Carabin, a good friend of mine from the Co-op podcast. He called before we knew it was called the Series X. or even if he did, he was calling it the Super Xbox, like Super Nintendo.
I love that.
I was thinking about that all week, and I
love
forgot
that.
to put that into the review. Like, it is a Super Xbox. That's actually what it is.
Nice.
It's like it's just the same thing, but better. It actually is a Super Xbox.
New Super
I
Xbox
got you there,
Pro
Marco.
Plus.
New Super Xbox.
Jedi Fallen Order, though, while not getting in like an enhancement patch per se, has been getting a lot of rave reviews from the people that, like Sean, that are playing early access. It runs at a lock 60 the entire time. And this was a kind of a clunky game on launch, and it didn't run super great. It didn't run bad, but it was a bit choppy, and the mechanics were a bit choppy. And everything that I've seen from Jez and Jeff and Dealer, who's coming by next week, by the way, little tease there. Dealer's dropping by next week. They've all said like this is a whole new way of playing that game. Like it's like Gears. Like, you've played Jedi Fallen Order, but you haven't played Jedi Fallen Order like this. And
I feel the more that happens, then that becomes the narrative for Series X. Like, it's gonna happen for everybody with a different game. Like, it just won't be that one game that everybody comes to, which is great because there's so many different games for people to play. But yeah, that will be like, I wrote it on my board. It's like it's an old game but new experience. Like that's what it feels. It sounds so corny to say it, and it sounds like you're being a shill about it. But it's totally. It's like I didn't play it this way before.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not really a Star Wars person. Like a lot of folks that have listened to us for a long time know that. That was my other co-host. So not being a Star Wars guy, and then getting into this game and it being kind of clunky and it being kind of choppy, like it made it very easy for me to put it down and go play other things that were more optimized. Sure. So I didn't play this game for very long, maybe a couple hours at most, and I own the game. So hearing everybody go like, "Oh, it's so good, you've got to play it." Yeah, I'm going to.
And load times too, man. Yeah.
The next time they have a lull, I probably will try to play this again.
There's never going to be a lull because video games keep getting moved and shifted around. This works out well. True. Ubisoft is delaying a couple of games, pushing them into 2021, 2022 fiscal year, that is. So they're pushing Far Cry 6, which actually bums me out because I was excited about that one.
I'm so happy to hear you say that.
I loved Far Cry 5.
Thank you.
3 forward. I didn't love 1 and 2. They were okay. But 3 forward, I love those games.
5 is one of my favorite games of the generation. It was absolutely one of my favorite games of the year that it came out, and I've loved that game for so much. And the only reason I'm even interested in this game is because of how much I like Far Cry 5. Yeah. And then the day it gets delayed, our PSVG Discord lit up with everybody going, it's okay, it's fine. I'm like, no, it's not fine. I want to play the game.
Here's the thing. It's easy to feel fine about this delay because it's like, look, okay, I've got the War Viking Lady video game, and then Cyberpunk is going to come out, and those are some big-ass games, man.
So you got Phoenix Rising, if you're keeping it in the Ubi family. Like, there's a lot of stuff.
It's just Call of Duty. Like, I've got a grip of video games. I mean, Watch Dogs Legion I just purchased, and I haven't put it in my Xbox yet because I'm just going to go, why are you like this? I want your new brother. Yeah. And then shut it off. So I'm not worried about this delay because I'm kind of grateful to have this bump into a window where I might actually get to enjoy it.
Now, they did mention that they're expecting them both to come out in the first half of the fiscal year. They followed up the announcement with this later. So my initial reaction was like, dude, this sucks, because in my head, they're doing it again. They're delaying these until next year, just like they did with these last games. So I was happy to at least say we could probably expect to be playing Far Cry 6 come June or August.
Maybe they gave the window of sometime between April 2021 and March 2022.
Right.
That's
the whole year.
Yeah. But they said the first half of that year is when they're expecting those bumps to come out.
So that would be Q2/3. Maybe, if we're very lucky.
Maybe interesting for Far Cry to be a fall game. They're normally not. Like, they're normally like that. That's normally that spot, that February. Like, I think New Dawn came out about that time, maybe March or something like that. Game.
I think it's going to depend on what they decide to do with Assassin's Creed too. Like, do they dump a bunch of new content for this one? Do they decide to iterate again and dump a new game?
Oh, I think it's just development. I think it's just where we are in the world right now. They're like, we're not going to make
it. So it's Far Cry 6 and Rainbow Six Quarantine. I know a lot of people are, Yeah,
I want a Quarantine too.
Interested in Quarantine. Yeah. So I guess we're going to see.
It's like the closest thing we've had to Fear in a long time, kind of. It's like
I really like
shooter game. Yeah,
Ryan Turfer was playing that today. Did you guys know that?
I was watching him play it.
Yeah.
I was. He told me that I heard him say that he's probably going to switch to Team Vertical. I'm winning them over, baby. Politicking, tis the season.
It only makes sense.
Sigh. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I have 2 spots.
We're going to make a Team Vertical Xbox Empire shirt. And you're gonna wear one, Elaine.
I want a pin that I can rotate with my.
Well, the Series X is so clearly like an Xbox. Like, what the hell is the building called? Good God, why am I blanking on this? I'm so tired. The building, the Empire State Building. That's what I'm going.
Oh, okay.
It looks like the Empire State
Building.
Building.
You said the Xbox, and then you said the building. I was like, the Xbox building?
The building. Yeah.
The building that looks like an Xbox.
Help me out here.
Don't worry about it. All buildings look like the Xbox, unless they're the Flatiron building.
But,
I mean,
but for the show Empire.
Oh, it's clear. It's clear that it's meant to be stood up. Like they're doing everything they can to encourage you not to tip it sideways.
Yeah, including not letting you take the stand off the bottom.
Yeah. Oh, they were like,
that makes me crazy.
But I don't like the little rubber thingies on the side. Like no matter what team you're on, it sucks.
Yep.
It does.
You stand it up. Those stupid things are on the side.
Like,
get those things
tilted a little away from you.
That is one thing I'm giving PlayStation credit.
Look at the other side.
Tilted a little away from you, so you don't see it so much.
I am annoyed by that. Side. Like, just let me move the stupid. I hate
it is weird. It is weird. It does seem like something you should be able to like twist off or something.
Yeah. I want to just pop it into a different spot.
Or like if you wanted to do that, maybe they came with like one of those clip-on stands like the One X has. Like if you want to do it, you could do it.
With a
like
little
that.
U that you just set the box into. There was a more elegant solution to that problem, but I'm just like, there's plenty of things in the world.
Super elegant solution to it. It's stand it up.
You're still going to see the little rubber feet.
Yeah, the rubber feet
on
the
off
side.
with your pocket knife.
Those stuck. Yeah.
All right, let's see what else we've got. Dragon Quest XI is getting a demo. It's got one. It's out now, right?
Progress carries over.
Progress carries over from demo to main game.
It's the same demo that happened on Switch.
Yes, Switch
special edition demo. It's a 10-hour demo.
It's a big demo. You can actually decide if you want to play and purchase this game. And this game is also coming to Game Pass.
You can play it now and then pick up Game Pass in 20 days.
In December when it hits.
Yeah.
That's actually really smart.
That's genius. Because you don't have enough video games to play. Just add a 100-hour RPG. No,
There's your new console. You can play EA games. You get Game Pass games. There's 10 hours of Dragon Quest.
This is a lot. There's a lot of video games. I'm like overwhelmed by November right now. Like I was looking at a list because I do this. I make spreadsheets of like all the games that are coming out that I want to play. And I'm like, there are not enough hours.
I like Dragon Quest. I played about 30, 35 hours of it, and before I put it down, I didn't finish it, but I liked it.
I own the Switch version of this version. It's still in the cellophane because I'm a bad person. I'm a terrible human being.
She don't play it on Game Pass. Owns the game.
I'm gonna end up doing that. That's what's gonna happen.
I don't get it.
I don't. I'm a broken human being. Whatever. All right. So Bright Memory, Donnie and Sean. So is this coming out launch day?
Yep. For $8.
That's it.
Why? So here's the thing. This is good news because if you're buying a console, you get a cheap game. But if it's only $8, why is it not in Game Pass? Especially when the Ascent isn't in Game Pass and Call of the Sea is nowhere to be found, and all these games you promoted for Game Pass, the system, the program that you're selling your console with, you start talking about Game Pass. Why not just put this on Game Pass? It's only $8.
Yeah, it's weird.
Isn't it weird?
That is a weird one. Did the lawyers just not? Were they not able to like?
I don't know. So I don't want to be like alarmist, but if people want to hear me not be a shill for Xbox, I don't know what they're doing with Game Pass. They were launching a console, and if it were me, I would have Game Passed everything. I would have put
that
Game
reminds
Pass
me. It doesn't come in the box.
So
it's not
that
even
was
in the
question.
box.
That was a question by, and I want to make sure I get the person who's Drew asked that question. There's been no mention of any Game Pass promotion with the console unboxings. Are we really not going to get? How do you not give people 30 days free?
I don't know what they're doing. Like, what are you doing? Where are the games? Where is the promotion? Where is Game Pass?
Like, forget all these dollar, like get them for $1 or whatever. Like, get them. It's the oldest trick in the book. It's 14-day trial. Like you're locked in.
Yeah,
even 2 weeks. Even 2 weeks would have been enough, especially with like, look at all our first-party games that are shinier on this
I was
new console.
pushing for 3 months. Like that would have. If it were me, 3 months. Here it is. You've given me $500. I'm going to give you 3 months access to this program that I am already eating the cost on, so it's not costing me a dime. And here's the thing: you're going to sign up for it in the first month. And then 90 days are going to go by and you are not going to remember that you were signed up for that anymore.
That's a good point about like why it should be so long. Because I was thinking like maybe you're giving away too much, but you're right. Like if it's that long, you get baked in. Your
success rate,
you get used to it in that
your
time.
success rate of keeping them goes up the longer they have.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right.
A hot pro tip for anybody who signs up for free trials like that: tell your smart device to remind you the day before it's set to renew, and then cancel it.
Except for Game Pass, because everybody should have Game Pass.
No, you should have Game Pass, but just in general.
Netflix, like don't give them your money, but Game Pass, all the money.
I feel like a month is what I expected because they've done like gold
Everything's
for
come
X
with a
number
month.
of weeks.
Yeah.
I'm just very surprised. They've always given you gold with every console I've unboxed since it's been a thing. Like I still have a code somewhere that came with my One X.
The only way that I can explain it, and this still doesn't explain the fact that there aren't games showing up into it, and I think that can be explained for development issues, but the only way that I can explain it is they are really cutting it close on the price of the box. You're getting a better GPU, you're getting the SSD, like they are getting this box as attainable as possible. And for them to make it happen, they probably just couldn't include it. It was just too much.
Between that and the battery and the controller, that's it.
Yeah. I it's still a bummer. I feel like
I'm with you.
It makes me think like
I'm 100% with you.
We're told these are the retail boxes, like that is what it is, and like still I'm like I don't believe it. Like surely we got a different box that didn't have the Game Pass in it because we were provided with other stuff anyways. So yeah,
it makes it seem even weirder that Halo was supposed to be the game. Maybe they thought that they didn't need to include Game Pass because they thought people would sign up for Game Pass for Halo.
That's what's really surprising. Like you put Halo on the back of the box, you expect to open it.
But that's what I'm saying. Like maybe instead of saying like, hey, buy the console, here's Halo, here's free Game Pass. Maybe they thought having Halo that day would make people sign up for Game Pass, which makes sense.
Probably.
There must be a different pull mechanism that they're developing or something. Like something that like maybe when I don't know, maybe it's more pervasive than a card within a box. Maybe it's something like you fire it up and it's like, hey, have you thought about Game Pass? Like, yeah, that's the only because it's so
that's how Cyberpunk was. When I bought my Cyberpunk console and plugged it in, I didn't have anything in the box. I just turned it on. It was like, here's your Cyberpunk game. Do you want to take advantage of this offer? Like it was all baked into like once I turned it on. So I mean, they could patch stuff in there, but I mean, I know that they're not. I don't want to give people false hope.
No, I doubt it.
But the moment they delayed Halo, Game Pass should have went in boxes.
I kind of agree with that.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is a mistake.
This was a mistake, and it's one of very few that they've made with this box.
It doesn't hurt them. They're going to sell out.
They're already sold out.
Yeah, they're sold out. So it's not hurting them. But at the same time, it would have been a nice little thing to talk about.
That's your exclusive sell.
Yeah, that's what you're buying the box
That's your
for.
sell. And that's your pitch.
I said that even with Halo here. Like, no, this is the Game Pass podcast. Like, if you're getting an Xbox, you need to have Game Pass, and I don't want to hear anything different ever.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
All right, onward and upward. I don't have to say it again. I'm here for Game Pass, but it's true. Everspace 2 early access release was delayed to January because Cyberpunk keeps not knowing when it wants to launch and making everybody.
So we talked about all the other games that are coming out in December. Like now, Cyberpunk moves into December. Do other games move too? Does Phoenix Rising move?
I'm gonna vote no because no one's sure what the hell Cyberpunk is doing. So why move your game when you don't know if
it might actually be safer to stay put?
Just they keep
move up?
moving it.
No, just step aside. Just like hey.
Could they go early? They're like, hey, Phoenix Rising now, Thanksgiving Day, buddy. let's move it forward.
I think they're just like, this might be vaporware. You should buy our game. They're just like holding a red cloth at the
if
bowl.
they could go early.
They could go early.
Yeah.
I love the idea of doing a cross campaign. It's like, you could buy that game, but who knows?
Well, then Assassin's Creed bumped up to match up with it, wasn't it? It was originally coming later.
It was originally going to be the 15th or the 16th, and they bumped to match the launch of the console because Ubisoft loves to do that. Though they get there for that.
Yeah, so why not bump up Phoenix Rising? Let's get it out early
because they might not be done. They might be working on a patch.
Maybe. I mean, from what I played the demo was pretty. I mean, I think it's playable, and I definitely think it'd be playable by Thanksgiving. If it's going to be playable December 4th, like what's 10 days? But
yeah, aren't they still coming in before what is the date for Cyberpunk now? I've lost.
They are the week right now. They're the week before Cyberpunk, and there's a few games in that week too. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but there's The Medium. I think is right around the time that Cyberpunk goes,
or it's early
13th.
December. It's it's
the 10th and the 13th.
I'm excited about that.
So there's a question: like, does The Medium move?
No, because that's a different. I don't think you roll those dice. I think The Medium is like a very targeted type of video game.
And it's Game Pass. I mean, it's being promoted for Game Pass.
You just get it.
Call of the Sea is one I'm still very excited for. I was hoping to be playing on a launch day, and it's just nowhere to be found. It still hasn't been delayed, but at this point, I'm expecting a delay because they're saying they're saying by the end of 2020. And it's like, man, you're running out of days. You
kind of need to date that thing.
Like you're running out of time right now.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to play that one. So that one, The Ascent and The Medium, those were the Game Pass games. That's what I'm talking about, right? When they talked about
yeah.
this, they had the medium, they had Call of the Sea, and they had the Ascent, and they're like, you're getting them Game Pass day one, it's going to be great. And now they're all gone, and now Halo's gone. It's like, why isn't Bright Memory in Game? For the love of God, go get something and put it in Game Pass.
That probably would have been a better call. Like, I get that best laid plans in 2020 are at an absolute dumpster fire, right? Like, it's just a dumpster fire. So
I'm
I
almost
understand.
halfway expecting some Bethesda games to show up in Game Pass around launch.
I would expect...
The fact that Fallout 4 isn't there right now, it was very weird for me. I really wanted to do a loading comparison, but I actually have that game on PlayStation with Chelsea. But yeah, that's very strange that's not there. The only Fallout game that we have in Game Pass right now is, New Vegas is actually the better one to
play. Eternal.
Great game.
And then you have your Wasteland.
Now, the Dishonored games were on Game Pass, and they're off now, correct?
I'm sorry?
Dishonored? Those games were on Game Pass.
They were set to leave, and they stayed. I think they stayed. But there's still several they could bring over, right? They could do Prey, and you could do like Wolfenstein, and those would pad out what seems to be like a kind of a vacant space here. But I say that knowing damn well that they announced like 10 new games for Game Pass like a week ago, and they announced 10 new games for Game Pass like every 2 weeks. So,
but also Skyrim not on Game Pass right now, right?
No.
So I try that one too.
And I would think we had a question, I think at some point someone was asking when would we see these games show up, and I think it's in their best interest to spread them out, not just throw them all in the library, spread them out, make an event out of it. And now I see November 15th through the 30th as a place to put one. Like, definitely put one there that gets some attention.
Don't worry, Cyberpunk is coming, you guys. Everybody has lost faith.
That's why it was delayed.
I have kept the hope that will be the good news story. They're just trying to figure out that the game is ready, but the deal isn't quite right between Phil and the Polish team over there.
I feel like dumping Skyrim in that slot would be smart.
Yeah.
That's the one I think most people would immediately be like, yeah, I'll play Skyrim again.
Because we all know they're going to come, and the fact that they're having some development issues, it's like, okay, well, then pad that out a little. Like, make people feel good about it. Like, give them a reason.
But then I could just play Gears and Forza. I have so many other reasons. I don't know.
Forza's
maybe
so
good. That's what I'm talking about.
Put Forza 3 in there.
Gears Tactics is coming.
Horizon 3 isn't in there.
It's weird licensing stuff with the cars. Very, very strange.
That's
it's a totally different car set with Forza Horizon 3.
There's also a music issue with the Horizon games and licensing of those tracks, because there are a lot of tracks in those that are like, definitely, those deals have definitely expired and they're going to have to play some games. So
as much as I'm singing about Forza Horizon 4, it's only because Forza Horizon 3 isn't in Game Pass and because it seems like everybody has moved on. But for me, like, Horizon 3 is the game. It's one of my favorite games of the generation.
Yep.
It is just like, it completely, like, it slapped me in the face. But
it's a great game. And the music in that game was good. I've said this before. That one, I haven't said this before about that one. That one gave me Test Drive Unlimited vibes. Test Drive Unlimited was one of my favorite 360 kind of chill racing games, and that game gave me those vibes.
That's the game that brought me back to Xbox. Nathan was like, you've got to play it. And it brought me back to racing games. I mean, I have not played other racing games, but I play every Forza now because of Horizon 3.
So good. Yeah, Horizon 3 is great. All right, other things that are great and coming on day one, I suppose, on the new series consoles are video apps. All of them. Literally just here, all of them. You get your Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Spotify, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. But also Apple TV.
So cool.
Which is wild to me.
It's weird.
It's weird.
How come, Elaine? Why is it weird?
It's weird because of Apple's insistence upon making Microsoft do a workaround for
we'll
iOS.
We'll put your streaming app on our device, but you won't put our streaming app on your device.
The beginning of some sort of a partnership to make this happen better.
Oh, I don't think so at all.
You don't think so?
No, I think it's a platform thing. I think Xbox is an open platform for these apps to run, and Apple published on it. I think that's all that there is to it. I don't think this... I would not look into any of this as any optimism. I think Apple is going to fight to keep their garden. And I think they're going to lose, but they're going to fight to keep their garden.
I'm curious to see if the Apple TV also hits on PS5. I'm curious to see if they do it too. If they don't, then this conversation becomes more interesting.
They announced apps are coming. I know that several were missing. Some people got mad, and I think they updated it and said that the other ones are coming too.
But I don't know that the Apple TV stuff is coming.
That's true. I don't Apple. So
that's where it gets interesting.
Don't care.
I don't really care either. I don't use Apple. I just was surprised because
I am excited about this because I do use. So Sean and I both have the same TV. We have the LG NanoCell. This is the first TV that I've had that isn't a Roku TV in a decade. So not having my Roku on it and not wanting to dedicate a device to make a Roku TV or the TV that's not it, I actually, since I bought this TV, so the last 2 or 3 months, I was using my Xbox as my media device for the first time ever on this specific TV. Mm-hmm. So I was happy to see that they're all here. So, because I've noticed it. We're watching all these Halloween movies, right? I sold my 1X. So there were several times we sat down to watch a movie. We're like, oh, we got to go upstairs. There's no Blu-ray down here. So like, there are several things like that. Yeah. So.
I actually use the NVIDIA, the Shield TV on mine. So it's just like, I do not even boot my box unless I want to play a video game. Like I'm that person. It is a single use item. That's why I'm just like, how fast can I get into a game? That thing's never on until I need it. So, but that's just, I don't know. I like gadgets. So that's where we're at. One last story, and then we have a couple of other questions we'll wrap up. Microsoft and AMD announced Series X and Series S will be the only next generation consoles with full hardware support for all the RDNA 2 capabilities that AMD has kind of showed off with its GPUs. So this includes DirectX ray tracing, mesh shaders, sampler feedback, and variable rate shading. Things that we just like. The impact of these things. These are just like word soup to me right now.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I've tried my best to understand a lot of this for Game Tech. I've done, I think, a fairly decent job, and I've had some descriptions of all of them, but it wouldn't be way too long to try and explain any of them. This is important because it really kind of showcases the power of the GPU and what it's like. If you're future proofing, like the Xbox is going to have some visual effects and some visual advantages over the PlayStation 5 that doesn't have this. Now, it's not necessarily going to be noticeable. It's up to developers to take advantage of it. And there's also the case that PlayStation might be developing their own versions of some of this stuff, right? That could always be the case too. But that said, this is the standard, and it's the standard for game development, and it's the standard for AMD development, and it's really a standard for kind of future next-gen PC stuff. And for Xbox to be in line with that, that's a good sign, right? Not that we have any issues with ports and all that now, but I mean, that's a good sign. And it just really just kind of showcases the bridge that Xbox has continued to lean Xbox more into the PC. It is basically just a PC at this point.
I think more than that, though, they don't want to be. There's no stone left unturned. Like it's not going to be like you're not going to get them on anything. You're not going to be like, you got Game Pass and all these things, but you don't have this. Like they have everything covered. I mean, I guess SSD is the one thing that people are and look what's happening with that. Like they don't have the same SSD speed as the PlayStation 5, and people are losing their minds over it. It's like, it's like not even worthwhile having because it doesn't have a PlayStation SSD. Like they've got their bases covered.
PlayStation still can't even expand their memory yet either, though.
That is crazy to me.
Do you remember when the news came out and everybody was like, "Oh, this one's going to be so expensive, and this one's going to be cheaper, and this one's going to be better, and this one's internal, and all that"? And it's
I was saying from day one, it's like it's not even going to be there.
Here's the argument. The argument is that one has it and one doesn't. Mm-hmm. It's not even there yet.
That will get resolved. I think for something like this, what this says to me is that Microsoft goes out of their way to partner with their hardware manufacturers, like all the way down.
So the thing about this that I think is very important, and I think you got it really deep on kind of like rumor mill and reports from developers on Reset Era and things like that. But the going talk about this is that Microsoft held off on GPU manufacturing for this technology to make sure it was full RDNA 2.0 compliant, and it is not completely developed in their software development kits yet, their SDKs for developers. So that's why you're kind of seeing that might be the reason why you're seeing the Xbox Series S, for example, not have the resolution or the ray tracing and things that you would expect it to have, or the game like ray tracing for, Devil May Cry 5 is being patched in. There's a reason why that's happening, and this is why, because they held off on doing this because they wanted all of the features. It was important to them that they had all these features. I know they're very excited about variable rate shading. They talk about it like the Ronald guy. He talks about it all the time. They think the efficiency that they will gain from rendering games with that in there is going to be a big deal. Now, is this all just marketing speak that 6 months from now we never hear from again, or does 4 years from now do we see an amazing looking Xbox game? Does Fable look incredible because they made sure some of this was here?
Mm-hmm. I think that's really possible, and we may not hear about it anymore after these boxes launch into our house, because
that's
this is part of that.
Thing.
This is part of that spin up cycle of like, yo, look at all of the things we can do. And then it quietly fades into the background. It gets used and you see the product. But you don't hear the dumb, like,
I laugh about it all the time. You know? I bring it up in the Discord. Every console has like 3 or 4 issues that everybody goes over and over and over and over before it comes out.
Absolutely.
And then you never talk about it again.
Exactly. Like it's marketing like
in lieu of something else.
The Switch had like 5 or 6 of those. Like the Switch, like every month there was like a new doomsday device for the Switch. And then it just goes off and sells gangbusters and nobody ever talks about it again.
Everybody wanted that to fail really bad. And I think a lot of people want this box to fail really badly too. And I think that has to do with how Microsoft messaged the Xbox One from the get-go.
But when we talk about
everybody latched on and I think people are having a hard time letting go. And I think in 6 months, this conversation becomes very different.
When we talk about the price of the Series X though, and we talk about, you know, like not having Game Pass and not having things in there, and we talk about it being such a value, there's a reason why it can benchmark when games are optimized. It can benchmark above a very serious, expensive PC rig. And this is some of the reasons. The GPU is better. It's better than the PlayStation 5. So like if you were one of those people that were like 1080p versus 900p, I'm getting a PlayStation. Well, then I would expect you to keep that energy because it is better. That's just the truth. If it wasn't better, I'd tell you it wasn't better. And I'd still tell you Game Pass is worth having it. But if you're one of those people that care about that, it is better. It's objectively better. It has more cores, has more features. It's just a better component. It's just a better components in there.
And how all that stuff shakes out and how people learn to use that power efficiently is going to not happen in these first couple months.
Oh, it's going to take some time.
That's not when it's going to happen. You're going to see that in a year or two.
Yeah.
And that's when the games will blow your hair back. You know, it's like it's going to be
Yep.
very different. Now we're talking about games we already love looking and playing better. In 2 years, we'll be talking about how the hell did they get this tiny mini fridge to do that? That's what's going to happen.
The fact they're doing all of this in the form factor is very impressive.
It's so small. You could put a 6-pack of cans right in there. It's like those little desktop fridges
all of
that
the
you buy.
pictures
That's what it evokes.
Leading up to it now, like when I was thinking, I was like, the Xbox is bigger than I think. And then when you see it actually next to a PlayStation 5, you're like, oh, I think it's smaller
That's
than I
a
thought.
tall boy. It's tall.
Yep.
It's a tall boy. All right, let's do 1 or 2 more questions because we've been here for 2 hours. As much as I love being here for 2 hours, I have to pretend to work tomorrow, I suppose. Okay, this one from Casey is good. We're a week away from release, and I feel like there's no surprise left for Xbox. They've shown everyone all there is to know about the console weeks ahead of time. Do you guys feel like Xbox or Microsoft has shown too much?
I'll let you guys go first.
Sean, what do you think about this? You've got one, right? So you have seen the box in its natural habitat and against the marketing that they've done and the hype videos. Where do you stand on this?
I think it's a great question about when you show things. It's not just about like right now, but it's about when you're trying to get somebody to pull the trigger on the thing, right? So we've been kind of talking about all year, like they should show us the thing. It's like, you're not going to be able to put any money down. Like I've been of the mindset that I was actually okay with them not saying very much, even though we got quite a bit throughout the early parts of the year. It's like, don't tell me the big thing until you can go and buy here, right? And so what happened the day before pre-orders went up? Bethesda.
Yeah, like it's huge, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So I feel like they did a very good job of aligning the absolutely a megaton. They aligned key messages, big things you care about, big like. If you're not going to have an E3 to like capture all of the news, just go buy, I guess, a $7.5 billion company. That mattered. Sure. I feel like that did matter. Now, like, would it be nice as a fan, as a gamer, to have like another announcement for them to do? I think yes, absolutely. It would be like I'm still hanging on to Cyberpunk is coming to Game Pass. Like that's where I'm at with this. So I connect with this big.
Not a chance.
So, but the point is that they did what they had to do to basically sell up pre-orders. Right? You can't really get them. I think they're in a really good spot for day one. And then maybe there's something that happens like the day after this thing comes out, right? To get the next wave, the second wave, and the third wave, and the fourth wave.
Don't they have an event the day before? They're like a fan. I think they have a fan fest. I think they have a fan fest event or something. The day before
that's
launch.
right. I think I want to drill into this question in a different way. Do you think they should have held something like the UI back and just dropped that on you when you boot the box? Do you think they should have embargoed something, anything? Because they've literally shown you all that box can do.
No, because they took advantage of the vacuum that Sony created. Like
That's
Sony
fair.
wasn't talking about anything. They're like, all right, people are thirsty for anything. So here's the dashboard.
That's fair.
And it's the same. Like it's the same thing with Sony. They took advantage of like they had an opening and they're like, here's the logo, and people ate that kind of stuff up. I feel like both of them did like. at the end of the day, they did an effective job of selling the box that they needed to do. As a fan, would I've liked more from PlayStation? I would have liked to see more, but they didn't need to. But that's also a little kind of arrogant too. Like, we don't have to show you anything. We don't have to show you how it works. For all we know, it doesn't work, but you'll buy it anyway.
So that's where I'm going with this. I think Xbox had to show as much as they did because they're not the ones in the driver's seat.
Totally.
So PlayStation could sit there and go, "You'll get it the day of, and you'll be happy," and everybody will still buy it because they have the consumer's faith. Xbox is punching up. They don't have
Sure.
If Xbox said nothing, people would talk about how awful it was. Remember when Xboxes were melting?
Oh God!
Right, like
that was a whole special nightmare.
If Xbox is not out in front and communicating, then things are miserable. They're terrible. They're end of the world. They're awful. They have to lead that with that foot forward to tell people like, "Hey, this is the Xbox," and I think that's going a long way for their optimism. And I do think they took advantage. I know that they've taken advantage of that silence by Sony. There was when Halo was delayed, there were people ready to write Xbox off. Like, this is it. It was awful. This is the end of the end. This is terrible. And then they went on a magical 4-week ride where there were literally people in our Discord, devout PlayStation fans, are like, "I'm sick and tired of hearing about Xbox." Like, it was just, they were just crushing it every single week, and it culminated with the Bethesda announcement. And then PlayStation fans were pissed. They're like, "Where is Sony right now?
Where's
like,
our UI?
We're getting trounced over here."
It's true. And Sony has done a good job in the last week or two of kind of cleaning up the mess.
They didn't even need to, though. That's the thing. They don't even need to, but Xbox did, and they did.
And they did. I think, I can't disagree with that. I think a lot of it goes back to how the One was originally messaged and all the drama around the sort of.
I was looking at that announcement video yesterday. And you remember
watched that recently?
Yeah,
I was like, that was such a dumpster
it was
fire.
so bad. You have the Connect and the Snap menus and the things that they were doing. It's like, what a disaster.
The messaging around how ownership of content was going to work and all that stuff was such a disaster that I think people are still replaying that in their heads every time.
The head of Xbox told people to go buy a 360.
I looked at that line and I was like, I made the Italian lady gesture of
what?
Like, I was rewatching it and I gave the arms out like, "Are you freaking kidding me, dude?" And my husband's like, "This is very old. You have to calm down." I'm like, "I'm still mad about that. I'm still mad that he did that." And so
they're still digging out of that pit.
They're still digging out of that pit. And I think you're right. They had to. They did. Yep. They didn't have a choice.
So being way out in front, way transparent, answering, and when rumors were going, they responded. They didn't go, "We don't have to respond to rumors." They responded immediately, like, "That is incorrect, and here are 10 people that have it to prove it." And all that's doing is silencing the critics, just constantly.
They also shipped that box to a crap load of different people from different... And then they didn't do a great job in the first run of representing people of color, and that's a whole other conversation for a whole other podcast. But they did kind of rectify that and started getting those boxes into the hands of everyone that
I know
that had a community that they could reach. Like, "Here, take it. Show people. Turn it on. Show them quick resume.
Turn it on.
Turn it on." Yeah, well,
looks like
you were allowed to unbox that PS5, but you weren't allowed to turn it on. So
weird.
But
it probably wasn't ready. Like, honestly, just knowing how these things kind of come together, you turn these things on and like quick resume doesn't work. There was like Watch Dogs didn't work.
There's
like,
only
there are certain things we talked about.
12 games you could play if you got one of those really early things.
You can watch it come together like hour by hour. You can see things get like literally. You can just see it's like the cells kind of.
I heard that this thing is being patched like twice a day. Are you seeing that?
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, they're like, it's being patched twice a day all week long.
You're in the alpha build cycle there. You're like, boom.
A small glimpse into the insight of what it takes to launch one of these things. I cannot imagine the pieces that are coming together. They all have to merge on the same time. When you talk about like this thing is coming in hot, like any console, like holy crap.
And remember, these were allegedly supposed to go in like September. They were planning to go early with the series.
Yeah,
that was my original prediction. At the beginning of the year, there's an episode of the
Xbox no, that's been backed up. That's for real.
That was real, really. Well, we were talking about
they had to delay after COVID and everything. They had to push.
Yeah, they didn't have a choice.
Because they would have been in their best interest, I think, to gain some space ahead of PlayStation.
They pulled that off well with the 360.
They were going to do
the PS3, and it worked.
They were going to do the X early. and then announce the S to go out with the PlayStation 5. Like, here's
That
the
would have
S
made so
too.
much sense.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah,
That would
so
have
not
made
day and
sense.
dates. Mm-hmm.
Like, that strategy of dump the box out a couple months before the competition was a winner in the 360 PS3, because the PS3 was a month or two after, wasn't it?
No, it was a year. The Xbox 360
Yeah.
hit a year ahead of time.
Oh, they had a full year. That's
Yeah.
right. It's like,
I kind of wish the
get out
consoles
ahead.
would all get off of each other's timeline. Like, everybody release in separate waves.
Financially would be a lot better for me, but you know,
It's not even that. It's like we wouldn't have all of this back and
Yes,
forth. It's
we
like
would.
we have the fact that we have like an election with a console is like too much.
Yeah.
It's too
2020
much
has been too
over
much.
analyzation, right? It's like, how about you go 1 year, I'll go the next year, let
No one
Nintendo
goes on
go the
any-
next year, and then by the time people are like, oh, this is cool, we'll release the new one, and then you can upstage us by 10%, and then we'll upstage you by 10%. Like, this is better for everybody.
Well, the
I
Olympics
feel
took
like-
a year off.
yeah. I feel like
Just
as long
kidding,
as
yeah.
no one launches hardware in an election year on election month, you know what?
Yeah, that
Cool.
should be a
Can we
law.
we just block that off. My heart can't take all this. I can't do it.
Well, we're good in
tired.
Canada. We're getting our console launches, no election for us, so we're fine. But we're all still feeling your guys'. We're
You're
getting
up
that.
there like, God, did we buy
What are
an
they
apartment
doing
above
over
a
there?
meth lab?
It's like
understand.
America just farted and all the gas is rising.
We're the
to
meth
Canada.
lab below your apartment.
Pretty
Like,
much.
what the
Oh, that's
fuck are
right.
they
I think
doing down there?
I feel like I got deja vu here. I feel like we've had this conversation before.
I'm certain that I've seen that meme about 4,000
Mm-hmm.
times, but I had to use it because it's perfect. We're going to do one more question because I like this one. Brandon asks, what's one thing you wish Series X had that PlayStation 5 does, and vice versa?
Ooh, good one.
What the hell does it do?
I'm really interested in the haptic feedback of that controller on the
Oh
PS5.
yeah, that's a good one.
I have seen some cool
Good
stuff
answer.
out of like NBA 2K. I think that stuff is neat. I would have loved to have stuff like that in Forza when you run over gravel on 2 of your tires. That would have been really cool. Is it a necessity? No, but that is a thing I would like. So
I'm realizing how little I'm paying attention to PlayStation 5 right now. And honestly, it's just like they just never really had they I feel like they missed their chance to like really grab me. Like that's the other side of things where like if you're going to be quiet, you're going to be confident and quiet and stuff. It's like, well, I had a moment where I would have been kind of open to this, but I and maybe some other people have been snagged away by all the attention that was grabbed by Xbox. So I'm not really sure like what the like that's an excellent answer. I was aware of that. The SSD, I need to see the proof in the pudding. I saw some sort of like I hate to spread
we will.
perhaps
That's going to
misinformation.
happen. Because
We'll
it's,
get
a,
those
it's a
reviews.
way better
How did I
SSD.
not
It's just
know
better.
Grand Theft Auto 5 loading faster on Series X. Like I don't know if those are the types of things I want to see. Like this whole like everybody's arguing that the theory behind and the specs behind this SSD are going to be like this insane thing.
It is. But here's the thing. Some people are running with that and they keep attributing it to like gameplay. They're like, this SSD is going to make it run in 8K. It's like, those aren't the same things at all.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
an
well,
SSD.
yeah, that's you
Right.
can't.
That's true.
Right.
But
the
I am
PlayStation
curious,
5
I would
load
like it if-
times and asset streaming and pop in is going to smoke Xbox.
Yeah,
it's just a
that's
better
gonna be
component.
better.
Like it's just there's no lying. It's a better component.
Yeah.
But just like in the same vein, Xbox probably gonna have some prettier games. Like eventually, like when all it gets said and done, it's just got the horsepower to do it. Now, whether or not devs take advantage of it, I only point to PlayStation 4 Pro and Series X. Series X was better, and for the most part, comparable games were about the same. So it didn't matter. So that's the question: is how much does it matter?
I wish that there was an all digital Series X. Honestly, I kind of wish that they had like a $50 to $75 less expensive or whatever it is, $100.
$399.
$399 Series X.
It would have to be
all
100 for
digital.
me to
They
not.
can always do that.
They can do it, but like I can also just not buy discs. Do you know what I mean? Like I
I
like
think
having
he's
the option.
talking about from a price point.
Yeah,
point,
it would
yeah.
have to come down by $100 full bucks to get.
See,
me,
and
though.
instead of doing that, I would just have a little beefier S.
That I would rather
Do
see.
the S with
Yeah.
a little beefier thing and a little more storage, and just bump it up to $399 instead of $299.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that.
Yeah,
But
'cause
I think that $299 price point is kind of magic.
I mean, that's where they want to be. That's where they
think
want
it's
to
a-
be.
it's-
And we'll get upgrades. There'll be an S with a 1 terabyte, and then there'll be an S Slim, and then
Oh,
there'll
yeah.
be an S with a better GPU. There'll be a 4K S. Like, it'll happen. It's gonna happen.
We're gonna be doing this forever.
We're gonna get
I
all
think-
these damn consoles. There were 10
You're gonna be
consoles
streaming
before
and
it's
you're
done.
gonna be streaming the games. You're not downloading them anyways. You're gonna be just doing XCloud
Also part
from
of it.
your Series S.
I think your answer is the right answer, Elaine.
Haptic.
So
It's cool. It's a cool thing. It's
I mean,
one
it sounds
cool-
like a different way to play games. The question
Yeah.
is, does it stick?
Who knows, right?
Right.
Agree. But I think for some of the things that Microsoft first party does very well,
Sure.
like for driving games like Gears, it could be rad. It could just be such a cool experience that, I love stuff like that. Like the tech of motors moving, like sensation around a controller is really cool to me. I'm like very excited to get my hands on that piece of technology.
When I think about that type of stuff, it is cool that it could do it, but it always has to be, it can never be like the centerpiece unless it's exclusive, because you can't make a third-party game where it's doing that on one console. Then how do you bring that to PC, and how do you bring that to the other consoles?
Well, NBA 2K is going to do that. They're saying it's going to support haptics, but it's not going to on the other two consoles.
Right, but the question is is it an essential part of the game, or is it just a little add-on thing?
Sure.
And that's where this always comes. It's the same thing with the light bar and the speaker and the shaker.
And the motion. It's a matter of of like, as a player, what experience you want.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Do you care? Do you care enough to buy that version of it?
I mean, I had a
yes,
Wii and a Wii
no.
U. I do. I like it. I'm
I
interested
care.
in getting it.
I love that stuff, so I'll fiddle with it. I don't know if it sticks.
To give you a different answer, I will say VR then.
I was just going to wait till you guys gave me a second to insert.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
I would love to see it work with like Oculus or Rift or something else. I would love to see them. It doesn't have to be Xbox branded. I would love to see them just be like, yeah, we've got VR support now. So if you're into that, we have a place for you to do some of that.
Mm-hmm. I think that would be very cool. And I think on the PS5 end, they've shown some quick resume-esque features, but not exactly quick resume. I would really love to be able to have 2 or 3 games running on that box and swap between them.
Well, look
and
at
they
Half-Life.
might do that.
Love to see a little bit more of that Valve love that used to happen. You got the orange box on the 360 and stuff. And Gabe Newell's already said that this one's better, and he's just like, it's not even a decision for him. It'd be really cool to see that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's probably going to do it, unless Donnie, you got anything else you want to hit here?
I'm good. Sean,
we've
Thanks so much
squeezed
for
the blood out of the proverbial stone on this box. So
there's still so much more. It's going to be refilled. It's I don't know.
So that's the thing. For all the things that we think we know, none of the reviewers have played Watch Dogs or Valhalla or Call of Duty or any. There's a whole other thing to come.
I'm gonna play Valhalla right after this. Actually.
I'm not mad. I'm fine. I'm gonna go cry.
I'm fine.
We'll be on Extra Life as well. We're doing Extra Life. So we play lots of games this weekend. Everybody should hang out, regardless of what team you're on. PSVG is doing an amazing job with your fundraising. It's like just incredible. We're all playing games together.
$5,000.
$5,000.
So proud.
That's
that team.
It's one of my favorite events that this community as a whole does.
Seriously,
every single year, it makes me feel good. Every year, like I'm just like, man, we're a bunch of people who argue about dumb console things like vertical versus horizontal, but then we raise all this money for sick kids.
They're going Saturday. Rad. They're playing Among Us. It's not too late to donate. You can go psvg.blog/extralife. That'll take you to the team page, and you can contribute as little or as much as you would like to. But I would encourage every PSVG listener to do so, because they've done an amazing job. They should all be. I'm incredibly proud of them. Extra Life was never my thing. But I love that we're doing it. I've always wanted us to do it because I think we have a big enough team, that we could do something like this. And I'm happy to see Kevin take the reins with it and go with it. And he's just done a tremendous job, all of them.
I'm excited. They haven't even started yet. I'm excited.
Yep.
Woo! Sean, thank you for coming and hanging out.
Thank you for having me. Thank you guys so much. I sort of did the thing that my mom told me never to do. I kind of invited myself over a little bit. I'm like, Donnie, I got this thing. I kind of want to come over and talk about it. So thank you guys for being open to it.
Sean's coming, and I'm like, yay, he seems great. I'll totally sit and have conversation with him and tell him how great his hair is and how much I hate how great it always is. Never moves, always in place. It's ridiculous.
You didn't see him. You didn't see quarantine Sean hair then.
Did you grow a beard?
He was looking like the Beatles there for a minute, man.
Yeah, it was looking pretty rough. It was when I started actually going back out in public and seeing people for the first time in a long time. They're like, "Oh," I'm like, "Oh, okay."
When people have that reaction, you're like,
He walked into the work and they were like, "Sir, can we help?" Oh, Sean.
Oh, Sean. Well, especially with the mask, that's a real thing. That's not a joke.
Sean, what happened?
Mm-hmm. My husband had a moment like that when he first grew a beard, and then he just kept growing it, and it got wild. There's a great picture of him with this, and my mother was like, "He looks like Grizzly Adams." I'm like, "Mom, now he's gonna shave it," and I like it.
Grizzly Adams did have a beard.
Stop. Well, all right. I think we're done here. I think we need to be done here. Follow us on social media. Come hang out in the Discord. I'm exhausted but happy. So that's where we're at.
That's a good way to close it. That should be
I'm exhausted but happy,
I'm
right?
exhausted but happy.
Sean, don't you feel exhausted but happy?
All the time.
Yeah. All right. Thank you again, Sean. And we will catch you guys on the next episode. Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.